Good evening. It's fan-sized TGIF, everybody. I'm here playing on Steam, and we got Kalenad. I remember watching this anime like forever ago. Um, but I kind of forget some stuff, so it's gonna be, I guess, reminiscent. Oh, we'll see how much I actually remembered. Let's see. Let's give it a go, huh? Shall we? Ooh la la. And don't mind my phone notifications. Yeah. The world is covered in white. Snow. Yes, it's snow. Even now, it continues to fall, coating me in its paleness. Um, what could I be doing here? Better yet, how long have I been here? My hand is buried in snow. It's holding on to something. I pull it out. It's a pure white hand. Girl's hand. Oh, yeah, that's right. I wasn't alone. I wipe away the snow on her face. Her profile, sleeping peacefully, appears before me. Yes, this girl and I had always been together here in this world. This empty, sorrowful world. I hate this town. There's just too many memories here I'd rather forget. Every day is the same. Go to school, see friends, come home to a place I can't stand. Nothing new ever happened. Wonder if anything will change if I keep living like this. I wonder if my life will ever change. There's natures almost everywhere you look around here. I guess today's just another day of trekking through the mountains to get to school. The trip would be so much easier if I could just level them all. If I were able to go in a straight line, I'd probably save myself 20 minutes. 20 minutes. Every day. How much time would that save me a year? I try to do the math in my head as I walk. Ugh, I can't figure it out. I don't see any other students from my school around. This is the main street to school, too. Normally there's students everywhere. Today isn't a vacation or anything like that either. So I guess that means I'm late. Responsible students don't just stroll into school at this hour of the day after all. Still, I continue walking at a leisurely pace, unfazed by my realization that the deserted scene before me. 200 meters left to the school gates. I stand still for a moment. I exhale dejectedly while gazing up at the sky. There stand the school gates, all the way up the ridge. Whose idea was it to put a school at the top of a giant slope anyway? The hill goes on like a never-ending nightmare. There's another side, but one much smaller and shorter than mine. I look to my right. A girl is standing there, just as still as me. I can tell from the color of the school insignia on her uniform that she's also a third-year student. But she isn't someone familiar to me. Her short hair that comes to just above her shoulders flutters in the wind. She seems to be on the verge of tears. As a repeat offender of late arrivals, I'm not bothered one bit. She, on the other hand, seems far more concerned. The idea of getting to class this late must be pretty upsetting to her. Yeah, uh-huh. She's nodding her head up and down with her eyes closed as if telling herself something. Then she opens them. She stares up at the school gates. Do you like this school? Huh? Oh, she's not asking me. She's talking to somebody else. Someone in her head, I guess. I wonder how he or perhaps she replied.
私はとってもとっても好きです。
I really, really like it.
でも
But I
何
know
も
that
かも
sooner or later everything
変わらず
changes.
にはいられないです。楽しいこ
The
とと
fun
か
things, the happy
嬉
things,
しいこ
all
と
of
と
it.
全部
Nothing can stay
変
the
わら
same
ずにはいら
forever.
れないです。
She continues to talk to herself
そ
awkwardly.
れでも
Even if things change,
この場
will I
所が
still
好
be
きで
able
い
to
られますか？
enjoy it here?
私は
You just have to find more, that's it. Huh? The girl looks at me surprised. It's almost as if she thought she was alone this whole time. Then you just have to find more things that are fun. More things that make you happy, that's all. That can't be too hard, right? The expression on her face, ah, yes. I remember those days, what it felt like to be naive, simple. That's something we've all experienced. Come on, let's go. We start to climb the hill. A long, long April 14th, Monday.
角原、
The teacher calls the student's
相
name.
変わらずいないのか？
Absent as usual, I look to my side where Tsunohara's desk sits empty. His attendance rate is even worse than mine. You see, the two of us are often labeled as the delinquents at school. But that's probably why we get along so well. He's really the only person in class I can have an honest conversation with. Nevertheless, today's classes begin. I spend them looking out the window. The teachers' voices go in one ear and out the other. Class is finished, bringing the school day to an end. Donohara never did show. In fact, the only person I've spoken to all day is that girl from this morning. It really is just another ordinary day. Since I'm not part of any after-school club, I grab my empty bag, cut through a pack of jabbering students, and leave the classroom. I could go home, but there wouldn't be anyone else there at this hour. Not anyone I'd want to see anyway. I don't have a mother. I was told that she died in a car accident when I was still little. I don't even remember what she looked like. After her passing, my father sank into a pretty deep depression, probably due to the shock of it all. Using alcohol to numb his pain, he wasted his days of gambling. Because of that, a lot of my time as a kid was spent arguing with him, actually. But one day, our relationship took a turn for the worst. He got violent with me. Ever since then, my father stopped showing his emotions. He's also stopped calling me just Tomoya, instead calling me Tomoya-kun as if we're nothing more than strangers. And indeed, he's turned into just that at this point. It's like he's retreating into some kind of shell, as if he's trying to sever the present from the past. It'd be better if he just pushed me away completely, or even just kept hitting me. At least then I know where I stand with him. But no, every time he sees me back home from school, he brightens up like an old friend is visiting and starts making small talk. It hurts. It hurts so much. I can't stand being home anymore. That's why I stay out so late now. If I come home when I know he's asleep, I don't have to see him. It's why I go to bed at dawn. Of course, then I don't wake up until noon. I've been late almost every day since starting high school. I spent my life like this for almost 3 years now. Today's no different either. I go home just to change out of my school uniform, then leave again before my father gets back. Oh, hey, PR! Thanks for the biddies, thanks for the highs! You go sleepies! Sweet dreams, PR. The routine practically feels ingrained in me at this point. I wander around town aimlessly until nightfall. No matter what, I always end up at the same place. On my way, I grab some takeout from one of the local restaurants. I carry it with me as I walk down the massive hill from this morning toward the school dormitory. Our school pays special attention to its clubs, so a lot of the students come from more rural areas to enroll. Those students then live here for the next 3 years separated from their parents. These kids are practically members of a different species when compared to someone without an academic dream like me. Normally, I wouldn't have anything to do with them, but Tsunohara lives here. He used to be on the soccer team and was even accepted to this school because of how good he was. However, he lost his spot on the varsity team as a freshman after being suspended for getting into a huge fight with a student from another school. By the time the following year's squad was decided, he was already an outcast within the team. He had no choice but to leave. He doesn't have the money to move, though, so he still lives in the dorms where all the jocks are.
何度言えばわかるんだよ。
How many times do I have to tell
で
you?
も
But the
すげえ小
volume's
さい音
nearly
だった
all
け
the
ど
way down. Tsunohara is standing there. He's in front of another room talking to a student about twice his size.
すげえ小さい音でも
That doesn't matter.
発
These
生から
walls are
響くんだ
paper
よ。
thin, so I can still hear
ヘッ
you.
ドホンで聞けよ。
Listen on your headphones or something.
高級なもんね
Come on,
って
I can't afford those.
じゃあ聞く
And
な。
don't listen at all.
いや
But
でも
I can't get into the zone without it.
それに
Plus,
結構
I think the
雑音
music's
楽だと
pretty
思うんだ
cool
よね
anyway.
今度
You
歌
should
詞とか
listen to
ちゃ
the
んと聞い
lyrics
てみて
next
よ
time. They're
理解して
totally
るから
cool.
生かしてるも
I
何も
don't
ね。
think you get it. I don't care if they're cool or
じゃ
not.
あ
You need to understand how pissed off I am right now.
次聞こえてきたら
Seriously, if I hear you one more time, I'm kicking your butt straight out of here. Slam! Tsunohara hangs his head, still standing in front of the now closed door.
そう
Dang, stupid rugby players. He mumbles the words under his breath. You won't be able to hear you like that, you know. Dang, stupid rugby players! Standing behind him, I repeat his words with a yell.
うわ
Yee! Tsunohara grabs my head and drags me into his room. I can hear angry yells of, "Hey, who was that?" resonating from the hallway.
僕を殺す
Are you
気か
trying to get me killed? You're the one who said it.
あのさ
Listen,
岡崎
Okazaki.
ただでさえ
My
このところ
relationship with those guys has been rocky at best lately, and I haven't been causing any trouble. Then let's go out with a bang.
あと一年
I
残ってる
still
よ
have another year left here. And you're just going to live in fear like this the entire time?
あのね
Hey now,
僕だって
I don't back down from one-on-one fights, even if that means fighting one of the rugby
相手が
guys.
けど
But he's not the only guy on the team living here. They're in all the rooms around
こ
us.
んな場所で
I
事を
can't make
起こした
trouble
日に
here. I'd be totally outnumbered.
でもまあ
But I guess I wouldn't mind
卒
doing
業間
something
際になった
crazy
ら
right before
派手にやるの
graduation.
もいいねそん時は岡崎
I'll be counting on you to
僕
have
の
my
背
back,
中は
alright?
お前に任せるぜ
Great. I'll be sure to take shot on my own at you while I'm at it.
来るなよ行けよ
You're supposed to be covering my back, not stabbing it. I'm on the rugby team side, you know?
いつからだよ
Since when? Oh, not now, but I will be when all this goes down.
なんでよ
Why?
共に過ごして
Do
き
these
た僕
2
らの
years
2年
we've
間は
spent
一体
together
何
mean
よ
nothing to you? Really? Boom. The wall shakes. The rumble is followed by a quiet down. I'll kick the walls right back for you.
やめてくれ
No, don't. You get scared way too
お
easily.
前な
Dude, put
僕
yourself
の
in my
立場に立ってみ
shoes.
ろよ
He's crying now.
頼むから
Please,
ここでは
don't make
おと
any
なしくして
trouble
く
while
れ
you're here. Sure. This pathetic display has such an impact on me that I give in without thinking. Munch, munch. I settle down in the small area between the wall and Tsunohara's ever-present katatsu table and begin to eat my dinner. Sorry, could I get some tea?
出ねえよ
You think I'm gonna serve you tea? Hey, I said sorry.
頭下げ
I
ろが
don't
出ねえ
care
よ
if you apologize or not. You're not getting any tea from me.
お前
What do you think
僕が
this is, the
鉄道かなんかと
cafeteria?
勘違いしてない
We're in your room. I understand that.
あ
Uh-huh. And you're my maid here.
全然わかんない
Yeah, you definitely don't get any now. Please, I forgot to buy some.
自分で行くと
So
いう
was the
発想
idea
は
of
浮かば
going
ない
out to
のか
buy some for yourself, just not registering? But I thought you wanted to do anything you could to be of service to me after I saved your life, no?
そんな裏
What?
設定は
That
隠さ
never
れていません
happened. That's what you told me after I saved you, though. That man named Tsunohara died long ago. Before you now stand your loyal attendant. I am but a simple tea servant. That's what you'll say to me. So, tea please.
壮大な嘘
That's
つ
the
かな
worst story I've ever heard. Alright, could you just get me one last cup of tea then?
最初も最後
I'm
も
not
ねえよ
getting you a last cup, just like I'm not getting you a first cup. Oh, but it's such a moving story, you'll definitely want to pour me some once you hear it. You seem done for after suffering life-threatening injuries, but I, thirsty, ordered you to make me tea. What am I reading? So you summoned up the last drops of your strength to go brew some, even as you groveled on all fours. And then, Mr. Akazaki, here is your tea, sir. And this cup will be my last. You died with a smile on your face. Man, I sound remarkably satisfied in that story. Floppy! Hello, I'm playing Clannad. It's going smooth, I guess. Like, trying to catch up with the whole story, it's like very dramatic. I've watched the anime before, but it's been so long. How are you? Man, I sound remarkably satisfied in that story. Well, it was exactly how you'd wish to go after all. Nevertheless, I sat there drinking that final cup of tea as I cried. See, moving, isn't it? I'm glad you're doing good. So, tea please.
出ねえっての
I already told you no! I spend the rest of my time there reading a magazine. With no TV in the room, the only things I can really do are talk to Tsunohara or read.
そろそろ
About time to go to sleep? It was late and the date had already changed over. Yeah, I guess so. One line I didn't cross was staying the night in Tsunohara's room. Just the thought of waking up in the morning to someone like that is depressing.
じゃあ僕
Alright,
シャワー浴びて
I'm gonna
く
go
るから
take a shower then. Okay. Tsunohara grabbed some underwear and a towel out from under a heap of clothes in the corner of his room before leaving. I'd prefer to avoid having to welcome Tsunohara back to his room after a shower, so I'll leave while I still can. I close the magazine and get up off the floor. As I do, I find myself looking at the cassette player. There's a tape still sitting inside it. I try playing it. Out comes the melody of a Japanese rap song that hasn't been popular for a while. Talk about lame. Who listens to this kind of stuff? Record your own voice over it? Or just leave it there? Oh, don't be a butt. Just leave it there. This would make it the first time I don't do anything to his room after he leaves me alone in it. But I guess I'll spare him for today. I decide to leave before Tsunohara returns. Clannad is actually a really good anime. I think it has 2 seasons or whatever. Yeah, there's Clannad, and then there's Clannad After Story. Very dramatic, but yeah. Like, it's been so long, I'd have to watch it again, so I can't really say, you know? But I forget. I think it was either based on this game or what. I don't know. I forget. It's been so long. April 15th, Tuesday. He's standing here again, just like yesterday. You again? Why can't you go up the hill on your own?
それは
Well,
その
how can I put this? You don't have to tell me if you don't want to. You don't know me after all. Oh,
hi.
alright. But you really should get to school on time like a good student.
遅刻してます。
But you're late for school. She points straight at me, her eyes burning right through my thinly veiled reticence. Forget about me. I look away, unable to meet her gaze any longer. What am I doing acting all serious and getting on her case? I don't know her well enough to do that. Mint! Hi, I'm doing well, thank you. How are you? Are you feeling any better from your illness? I hope you're feeling better. She's absolutely right, though. Oh, that's good. That's better. Yay! I'm just playing Clannad. Based... Well, I think the anime's based off of this game. It's a good anime. It's older, but it's just been a very long time, so... Yay! I'm playing the game! I'm not sure if this is like a dating sim or something. I forget what this game's about, but Kaiju had it. And it's like, hey, I'll play. I've been meaning to. She's just as much of a delinquent as I am. Do what you want. I start up the hill without her. It's just, what drew me to her was the fact that she didn't really look like a bad student. That's all.
待ってください。
Oh, please wait. A voice? It's hers. May I join
つい
you?
ていっていいですか？
I look behind me to find her standing there quietly. Why?
それは
Well,
一人で
I
行くの
feel
が
anxious
不安だ
going
からです。
alone. It's kind of odd that she's asking me of all people, someone she doesn't even know. I mean, she has to have at least a friend or two, right? I look up the hill, squinting from the sun's blinding glare. It's not too far away, and she's not... Wait, and she's got no one else to go up with her right now. I guess it wouldn't hurt. Do what you want. I start walking again after repeating
待って
myself.
ください。
Please wait. What now? The girl eyes me, looking as though she's deciding on whether to stay what's just popped into her head. Oh, to say what just popped into her head. Then... Anpan? Anpan? Is that food? I want food. No. A single word is all that comes out. How should I even reply to something like that? Kaiju? Kaiju's alright. Kaiju's at work right now. He works on Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. He's got a 12-hour shift. Overnight shifts, too. But he's okay. Yeah, as okay as he gonna be going to work and stuff, you know? How should I even reply to something like that? Baguette. Baguette.
何のこと
I don't really
かよく
understand
わ
what
か
you
らないです。
mean. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was just gonna say that to you. So, what? You like Anpan or something? Is that it?
取り立て
No,
と
not particularly.
と言っても
But it's
嫌い
not
な
as
わ
if
け
I
でもない
hate
です。
it.
どっちかという
I
と
guess I
そう
like
で
it
す。
more than I dislike it. Talk about beating around the bush. It's like I really care. Like, I can't even read this. It's not like I really care either way. Alright, well, let's get going. Okay. There's a bit of newfound energy in her response. Maybe that was some kind of weird magical spell she cast just now. Her footsteps make it sound like she's galloping behind me. Sorry, it's like I expected to read it a certain way, and it's like they say it a certain way. I don't know if it's translation or just my brain. It's probably both. No, probably more like my brain. The bell rings, ending the period. Someone calls out to me unexpectedly. I turn to face the source. Oh. Ryu Fujibayashi? I'm gonna slaughter these names, yo. She's the class president, I think. Or rather, she's the girl that was saddled with the responsibility of being the class president. If I remember correctly, she's Kyo's younger twin? She insecurely darts her eyes left and right as she's standing next to my desk. Yeah? Here. She says as she hands me a sheet of paper. A love letter? No, it's not. You're bolder than you look. It's not easy just to hand that to me directly.
その
It's not a love letter. Is it a chain letter then? It's kind of mean of you to hand it to me so nonchalantly. I don't think it's a chain letter either. A letter of challenge? Just read it! Thump.
No!
Fujibayashi blushes and presses the paper against my chest. It's the handout from this morning's homeroom. Oh, lame. What did you expect? You come to school. Like, sure, he's a delinquent, he doesn't listen to what the teacher says, and he looks out the window all day, but come on. Like, oh, what's this sheet of paper? It's work? Just read it. No! Alright, it was pretty well timed. I toss it in my desk drawer without so much as looking at it. Probably nothing important anyway. Do you need something else? I think you should try to come to school on time more often. That's no concern of yours, right?
でも
But,
そ
I think it'd be better if you came on time. Dude, you don't even know my circumstances. Okay. Do you think you could start picking on your classmates' attendance now that you're the class prez? That's not it, but... Well... Her eyes start to water. Softy. No, I'm kidding. I guess it was a little too much. Apologize or ignore her. I apologize. I'm sorry, I went a bit too far. Yeah, because Tomoya, you're a jerk. No, I was out of line. I'm sorry. Hey, Okazaki, don't make the class prez cry, okay? Otherwise your sister will come after you. Oh yeah, she's got a sister. It's okay. I'm not crying. You can't say that when you're on the verge of tears. In any case, since no tears have actually come out, let's just say she isn't crying. Well, I'll consider it. Oh, yes. But if you could please try not to be late. With that, Fujibayashi takes out the deck of cards from her shirt pocket. Then gently but clumsily, she begins to shuffle the deck. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Oh! Splatter. And the cards scatter splendidly across the floor. 52 pickup, let's go! No. You planned this from the start. Now you have to pick them up. Fan service, here we go! No, I'm kidding. This is bad. Flustered, she picks them up off the ground and starts shuffling again. What game? It's just called Clannad. C-L-A-N-N-A-D. No fan service. It's not that kind of anime. At least from what I remember. I've never played the game, though. Flustered, she picks them up off the ground and starts shuffling again. She manages to do it this time. Fujibayashi clumsily fans the cards out and holds them out toward me.
Hello, little hobbit.
Hello. Oi. Anime game. Yes, yee. Eh? What's this? Go ahead. Should I pick one? Please pick 3. I have no clue what's going on. Is she trying to show me some sort of card trick? In any case, I take 3 cards. Please show them to me. Here. She stares at the 3 cards I'd chosen. Oh. Okazaku-kun, you'll be late tomorrow. You telling my fortune with game cards? I've never heard of that. Is she trying to pick a fight? Hey, didn't you just tell me to come on time? What's this about? On your way to school tomorrow, there'll be an old lady who will have trouble crossing the street. You'll be late because you helped her. How? Were they tarot cards? Because they look like regular playing cards. Oh, I don't know now. But she'll be grateful for you, for your help, and give you some money for your trouble. Wait a second. Why is your fortune so detailed? I wouldn't believe that if you were using tarot cards, much less they were playing cards! How can you possibly tell all that would happen with just numbers and suits? It's a girl's intuition. Yes. Her sixth sense is in full force, huh? On top of that, she's pretty confident about it. Could it be that you actually don't want me to come to school? That's not it. It's just what the fortune says. Okay then, I absolutely won't be late tomorrow. Eh? Even if I come across as an old lady in trouble at a crosswalk, I'll pretend I don't see her. It's all your fault. Don't help that lady across the street, she's gonna get run over. I'm gonna die. I don't think that's nice. Well, what else am I supposed to do? I think you should help others when they're in need. No, I'll abandon her. But... Ding dong. Oh. There, the bell's ringing. Go back to your seat. Yes. Upon me saying no, Fujibayashi's heads for her seat with her shoulders drooped. Sheesh, she's making me feel depressed. Please, don't take the fortune too seriously. Well, you were the one who took it seriously first! What am I... Yeah, she's a grown-up. That old lady can deal with her own problems. Nice. She says and trots to her seat. Maybe she's really trying to pick a fight after all. Having been told such a weird fortune, I'm feeling kind of blue. As I rest my head on the table after third period, I hear a thud come from the seat next to mine. I look up to see Sunahara reclining in his chair, a satisfied expression painted on his face.
Good morning.
Good morning! Sorry.
いい朝だね。
What a great start to the day!
って感じ?
Makes you want to say, bomb ahead? Oh, okay. You ought to be thanking me. Your morning was only peaceful thanks to my generosity.
は
Huh? What does it have to do with how nice my morning's been?
何か
You must be making stuff up again. I listen to my favorite hip-hop songs. I drink my coffee. Ah, it's nice knowing that no one can put a damper on my mornings. Oh, you're so young and naive. That's good to hear. I'll be sure to be merciless. Oh, be sure to be merciless the next time I mess with him. No, we didn't want to do that. I know, I'll record you a copy of my mixtape. That way you can start your day off with it too. Dude, remember you could do that? Oh. I'm not interested in bombing any heads. Are you making fun of that song? No, but you keep talking about this hip-hop mix of yours, and that song isn't even hip-hop, it's straight Japanese pop. What are you talking about? The song is the undisputed gold standard of hip-hop. We're not getting into a debate about this. Anyway, bring a tape next time and I'll make you a copy. I said I don't want one. Whatever. I'm going back to sleep. Didn't you just wake up? I did, but there's no point in staying awake. You really are the quintessential role model. Okay, good night. Sorry, there's a couple words in here that I haven't, like, seen in a long time, so I'm, like, tripping over them. Like, he rests his head on the table, unaffected by the fact that he's in the middle of a classroom trying to catch a nap. Brazen indeed. Yawn. I yawn slightly, probably caught his drowsiness. I look at the table ahead of me to figure out what subject fourth period is. That thin textbook means English grammar. That teacher constantly calls on me. Ugh. Skip class or sit through it. Sit through it. Be a good boy. Sunahara is sound asleep. Hey. Sunahara. I grab his shoulders and give him a good shake. Huh? Hey, the teacher just called on you. What? Seriously? What's the question? You have to sing the song from that Takafuji commercial. Oh, no. No. Oh, no. Don't do it. Why are you trusting him? You idiot. Sunahara jumps out of his seat and stands. Let's go!
Won't you take my hand? Nan-to-ka-me, nan-chara-kan-chara, got to do.
Oh gosh. That was painful. He screams out his answer. The teacher turns around, his chalk still held to the blackboard. What was that, Sunahara-kun? Huh?
Let's go!
You're gonna do it again?
Won't you take my hand? Nan-to-ka-me, nan-chara-kan-chara, got to do.
Why? Why are you such an idiot? I didn't call on you. The sound of muffled laughter begins to envelope the room. Gosh. Oh, yep. You humiliated me in front of the whole class. Dude, it doesn't take much. Calm down. Bomb ahead really is the gold standard of hip-hop. I know, right? Oh my gosh, you're so bleak. Okay. His mood brightens immediately. How he manages to go from utterly bashful to obliviously happy is bewildering. So what should we do for lunch? Wow. If you have money, let's go somewhere off campus. I'm broke. The school cafeteria it is then. It's wonderful. The two of us stroll down the hall. Tsunohara suddenly leaps into the air as he reaches for the ceiling, apparently showing off how high he can jump.
今第一関節完璧触れたよ。
Did you see that? I just hit the ceiling with my first knuckle there.
すごくない？
Impressive, right? I'm dazzled beyond words, let me tell you.
でも今
Yeah, and I'm not even trying my hardest either.
学生服で本気出すとや
If I gave it everything I had, I'd tear my uniform. So, you know, that's why I only half did it. Mm-hmm, sure. How thoughtful of you, because you've always cared so much about that uniform.
くわ
It's so crowded as ever.
なんだ
I want bread. Like their bread. Like the melon bread or what? I don't know.
ま
It'll be fine. We just have to push the freshmen out of the way.
はいここ僕たち
Okay,
の席
this is
ね
our seat. Tsunohara says with a smile and a bunch of freshmen who are seated and chatting. I don't want them to associate me with him. Smart. I buy a food ticket, then exchange it for a bowl of kitsune udon. Oh, making me hungry. I bring it to an open seat near the corner of the room and sit down.
おい岡崎
Whoa, hold on, Akazaki.
向こうの席
I just got us these
溢れ
seats over there. Tsunohara comes running to me holding his lunch tray. He quickly notices that I have no intention of getting up and moving to the seats he just forced the underclassmen out of.
はいここ僕の席
Okay,
だから
this
どい
is
て
my
ね
seat then. Get out of the way, please. He tries to move the student in front of him just like he tried to do with the freshman so he can sit right next to me. But this student is another third year, and he's on the rugby team. And on top of that, he's sitting with the rest of his rugby pals. What? You want us to move while we're still in the middle of our meal? Sorry, I thought you were freshmen.
1年かと思って
So, you would have made me move while I was still eating if I were a freshman? No, of course not.
僕
Wait a minute, that's the guy who gets me out of my seat the other day. A freshman on the rugby club who's sitting with them loudly announces the fact. Hey, thanks for snitching on me. Okay, I get what's going on here. Come on, we're taking this out back. This is all a big misunderstanding. No, it's not. Tsunohara gets grabbed by the nape of his neck and... That was great. Just slides off panel. He's dragged off. I leave the cafeteria as soon as I finish my lunch. Phew, that was a disaster. I know, right? That scream.
見てあの子
Look at that girl.
ほらあそこ
You see her over there? A girl by the window is pointing outside and talking to a friend next to her. She's eating bread on her own. It looks like she's munching away at it as fast as she can. Isn't that cute? I wonder what class she's in. I haven't seen her around much. Their words are enough to give me an idea of who it is. As I join the two and looking down the courtyard, I see a girl sitting on the side of some stone steps eating by herself. It's her. Let's go! Tsunohara probably won't be back for a while. I guess we'll see how she's doing. Oh boy. Hey! I approach the girl and call out to her. Why are you here all by yourself? Munch, munch. Hmm? She really is eating anpan. Munch, munch. Hey, did you hear me?
ごめんなさいです
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm in the middle of
途中
eating.
ですので
She stops eating to answer me, but that's it. I see. I decided to sit next to her and wait. I could see up to the window. I and the others were looking down from earlier. No one's there now. Once she finishes her anpan, she begins sipping on a carton of milk.
あの
Um,
なんでしょうか
why are you out here? Huh? Oh. I was just wondering why you're eating lunch out here all by yourself.
この学校は
Do you
好き
like
で
this
すか
school? I've heard those words before, but this time she's asking me. Well, not particularly.
そうですか
I see.
私は
I really, really
と
like
ても
it.
とっても好きですでも
But nothing can stay the same forever.
変わらずにはいられないです楽しいこと
The
とか
fun things, the happy
嬉
things,
しい
all of
こ
it.
ととか全部
It all
変わら
eventually
ずにはい
changes, you
られない
know?
です
They're all words I heard yesterday morning, and that's why you can't feel the same way about this place now, huh? I finished the end of her sentence.
はい
Yes, that's
そうで
right.
す
Can you be more specific? I don't really understand.
病気でずっと休んでいたんです。
I had to take a lot of time off of school because I was sick. You were?
はい。
Yeah. For how long?
長い間です。
A long time. Huh? Okay, then what?
もうこの
Well, I
学校
guess
は
school stopped being a place
私
where
が
I could
楽
have
しく過ご
fun.
せる場所じゃなくなってたんです。
I still don't really understand what you mean. You must have had friends, right?
友達と呼んでいいのかわ
I
から
don't
な
know
い
if I
です
would call them friends, but there
話
were
が
a
でき
few
る人
people
は
I could
少し
talk
だけい
to.
ました。
You don't necessarily have to be good friends just as long as you have someone. That's what matters. No, it doesn't. So basically what you're saying is you took so much time off that it's become hard to talk to your friends? They formed their own groups while you weren't around? Is that about right? Are your friends really that heartless, though? I mean, typically speaking, most people would welcome someone back with open arms after a situation like that, no matter how long it'd been.
迎えてくれないです。
They won't welcome me back. Well then, they must be heartless.
いえ、
No, it's my
悪
fault
い
for
の
being
は
away for so
長いこと
long.
休んでいた私の方なんです。
Yeah, she's got like chronic illness or whatever, or gets sick easy or something, if I remember right. Just forcibly insert yourself back into the group. Well, I think she was a third year or whatever. Maybe all of her friends graduated and left her behind. She had to like do another year because of how long she was sick for.
だって、
I'd
彼
only
女たち
spent a
と
little
過ご
bit
し
of
た時
time
間
with those
はほんの
girls, and
今はもう
well, they aren't at this school
こ
any
の学
longer.
校には
Okay,
い
yeah.
ないんですから。
What? Why not?
みんな卒業
Well,
し
they
ま
all
した。
graduated
今年の
just
春
this spring. How long were you away
9
for?
ヶ月です。
9 months. I see. She must feel like a transfer student at a brand new school. Considering the circumstances, how could she not?
浦島太
I
郎
felt
と
like
気分を味わい
Urashima
ました。
Taro. That's one way of putting it. It makes sense though.
だから、
And that's why I was
一
eating
人で
lunch by
昼ご飯を
myself.
食べていました。
Oh, okay. Thanks, I think I got it.
はい。
Yeah. I don't know what it is, but feels like maybe I overstepped my boundaries there. Like I pried more than I should have. Keep talking, dude. But I can't just walk away now. It'd be awkward to have listened to all of that to just leave with, well, see you later. Good talk. None of it can stay the same forever. I recall her words. Of course not. Time is always moving forward.
はい。
Excuse me? Remember what I said yesterday? Nothing stays the same forever. You just need to find something else that makes you happy. So why not make new friends?
時期が時期
No
です
one
か
is
ら。
interested in doing that at this
Mina,
point.
so
We're all going to
you
graduate soon and everyone's too busy getting ready for what's next. Oh, so you're a third year. He's right. With college entrance exams directly around the corner, no one feels like going out of their way to make new friends right now. Oh, what about clubs though? Are you in one or have you ever been in one? I ask her as if suddenly remember something
入って
important.
ないです。
No. I see.
Hello, little hobbits.
Sheep! How are you? Hope you're doing well. I'm playing Clannad. I believe an anime was based off of this game. It's been a long time since I watched the anime, but it's really good, and I recommend it. There's like 2 seasons or something, Clannad, and then there's Clannad After Story. So in case you got interested, but yeah, Kaiju has the game, and it's like, oh, why not? Let's play it. So here we are. It's kind of laid back with a few little ha-has here and there. Hopefully I don't put you to sleep. But thanks for stopping by. Yeah, I think Kaiju told me that it was based off of this video game or whatever, PC game, blah blah blah, I think. But yeah. You ever watch it before?
でも、
But there's one I want to join. Cool, what is it?
演劇部で
The
す。
drama club. The drama club? Does our school have one of
あり
those?
ました。
It did a
1年
year
前には。
ago. I see. Okay, then go check out the club room after school. That is what you want to do, right?
はい。
Yeah, it
そう
is.
したいです。
Ah, the visual novel came first. You know what? You're right. You're right. I guess it was that, then the game, and then the show, or I don't know. It's just what I remember hearing from Kaiju or something. Okay. Yeah, it is. Then you should do it and put your whole heart into it.
はい
Okay, I will. She clenches her fist of determination. It looks like my encouragement might have worked.
ただいま。
I'm back. Are you crying?
泣いてなんかない。
No, of course not. Ah, okay. You should have seen him. He was dragged out and they fought him outside. It was great. Demon, go to bed. You tell me to tell you, and I'm telling you. What are you doing up so late? Then again, you're off, right? Yeah, it's Friday. Don't stay up too late then. It is not one of those games as much as you want it to be, Mr. Demon. Yeah, right? If his uniform was all scruffed, that'd been great. I look out the window as the teacher lectures on. I think of the girl I met during lunch break. Poor thing. She compared herself to Urashima Taro, and that must really be how it feels to her. It seems obvious if you think about her predicament. She wouldn't really have a chance to get to know anyone outside her class if she wasn't in a club. If that's the case, then the only people she probably knows here are the teachers. After-school clubs, huh? I wonder if the members of the drama club will be welcoming. As a third year, even if she did join the club, she'd be coming into it pretty late. Oh, okay. I realize something as I hear my classmates scribbling with their mechanical pencils. No one's interested in doing that. We're all going to graduate soon and everyone's too busy getting ready for what's next. I guess that includes me. What am I doing? I've been staring out the window all this time, ignoring class. Fifth period ends. Only one boring hour of school left. Tsunohara's head hangs on the back of his chair. He's sleeping unabashedly. But, like, I haven't heard a word like that in forever, so it's like, what? How does he not slip off? With no one to talk to, I go back to daydreaming while gazing out the window. Something came into my view that hadn't been there a few moments ago. I don't know if they only just came up the hill, but two motorcycles have stopped near the school gates. Even from here, I can see that the riders are young men, both without helmets. One of them waves his hand, signaling to the other. The two motorcycles start running wild on the school grounds, their engines roaring loudly. I vaguely remember something similar happening at the end of the last year. The culprits that time had been students from the nearby industrial high school. Are they really that pissed off that we're the best school in town? Oh, what's this? Tsunohara's body suddenly fills up my field of vision. Don't sit on my desk. Come on, man, it's fine. Whoa, awesome, those bikes are loud. Drawn in by the racket, the other guys have also started to gather by the window to see what's going on. There's just nothing more depressing than this. I guess watch or escape? I guess. I wonder how the teachers are planning to deal with the situation, so I decide to stay put and see how this whole ordeal turns out. Suddenly, the spectators in another classroom get incredibly rowdy. What now? One student leans out the window and excitedly points down toward the ground. I look down. There, I see the figure of a lone student calmly walking up to the two guys running wild on their motorcycles. Long hair and with a slender body. It was a girl. People are now even starting to cry out in shrill cheers. Woo! Wait, that was you? Maybe she's planning on giving him a scolding. No way, this ain't fooling around, you know. Just what are the teachers doing? Not a single one has even done so much as to show their face. Yeah, that's how it is, isn't it? Oh, it's starting. The motorcycles come to a standstill right in front of the girl. Both parties face each other. It looks like they're talking about something, although I can't make out exactly what. Tomoyo-san! Kick their butt! Their cheering comes from the classroom below. Kick their butt? What? Her? Ha, more like she's the one who's gonna get her butt kicked. Just for a moment, I felt as if the girl smiled, as if she were thinking, this'll be interesting. As for what happened afterward, it was over in the blink of an eye, and before I realized it, the girl was already on her way back, accompanied by grand cheering, dragging along the delinquents, with each arm. So what, she beat him up or something stupid? For a short while, we're both at a loss for words. What? I'm interested in this. I'm not interested. I guess? What else would I do? This is the perfect way to kill time. I get up from my seat and leave the classroom. I'm coming too, wait up. Tsunohara runs after me. I'm telling you, that was definitely strange. It's just impossible. Well, let's go check with our own 2 eyes. We get to the hallway in front of the staff room. Spectators have gathered there too. I don't recognize any of their faces, so they're probably all underclassmen. Benny the Penny! Benny the Penny! Penny! The only third-year students down here are Tsunohara and myself. No! Oh yeah, her. It was in self-defense. Isn't that right, you two? Yes, we started it! It's not Tomoyo-san's fault. Tomoyo-san? You know her name, so are you two acquainted with her? No, they just asked me my name earlier, so I gave it to them. Isn't that right, you two? Her eyes glimmer. Yes, that's right! Really now. Well, it looks like these two also regret what they've done, so I'll let you off without punishment this time. But please, refrain from such dangerous behavior ever again. Just let us teachers deal with these things. Yeah, sure. You weren't anywhere in sight. Like, for real? Yes, I'll do so from now on. Well then, please excuse me. Alright. And as for you two... There's that glimmer again. Hey, you! I grab hold of one of the spectators. Who is that? Huh? You don't mean Tomoyo-san, do you? He answered as if to say, what, you've seriously never heard of her? Tomoyo Sakagami. She's a second-year student who transferred in this spring. Does she always do this kind of stuff? Just occasionally. Even though the teachers were so scared that they just hid away inside the staff room, she came out and faced those punks alone. She's so cool. If she took even one wrong step, she'd be just an idiot. If she were an idiot, she wouldn't have been accepted into the school. That's not my point, though. Then the best narrator? Hell no. I'm like stumbling over the thingamabobbies. Oh, you put me on the spot. What are you guys doing? How am I supposed to get through like this? Pushing her way through the spectators, the girl makes her exit. I fix my gaze upon her back as she leaves. Someone this strange was going to this school? I never knew. Well, I hadn't really been coming to school since the spring, so I guess it's natural that I don't know her. With their heroine gone, the spectators also start to leave in groups of 2s and 3s. Minty, stop, no. I'm telling you, it's definitely strange. It's impossible. I'm leaving without you. Hey, wait up! Newbie noob, yeah, newbie noob. And thus, we also left. Homeroom finishes, finally bringing a close to the school day. That was a good nap. Alright, wanna go somewhere, Okazaki? You really are carefree, you know that? Well, we might as well make good use of our time after school and have some fun, right? So, where to? I thought I told you. I'm broke. Oh, yeah, me too. Let's swing by the cafeteria then. I bet there's someone still hanging around that'll buy us something to drink. You can't be serious. Anyway, let's go! With nothing better to do, I decide to follow him. I love the transitions. They are so amazing. Hey, buy us some drinks. This guy. Punch him. Tsunohara grabs one of the younger students and begins extorting money from him like a right mob boss.
100円じゃなくて
Not just
200
100 yen, 200.
2人分だから
I need 2 drinks, one for me and one for that guy over there.
うん
You really are a good kid, you know that? Let us know if you ever need
僕
anything.
たちに言っておいでよね
A PowerPoint. Yeah, a PowerPoint.
僕たち学校の
Oh,
外で
this is
ブイブイ
yeah,
言わ
it's
せて
pretty
るから
old
さ
though, yeah. We got some real pull outside of school, you know what I
こ
mean?
の前も
Just the other day, this guy picked a fight with me. I put one finger between his eyebrows, and then
そしたら
boom.
そいつの
The guy's head exploded, chunks everywhere too. It was pretty brutal. Oh my gosh, you're so cringeworthy. Liar. I glanced at the clock on the wall. 20 minutes had passed since 6th period ended. I wonder if she worked up the courage to go. I think of the girl I met during lunch. I feel concerned. I can't help but feel concerned. I turn back and leave without warning.
あれ
Huh? Where are you going, Okazaki? You're an idiot. Leave me alone. I hear Tsunohara's voice, but ignore it as I exit the cafeteria. I walk up the stairs until I reach the 3rd floor of the old building. I think this is where most of the clubs meet. Then I see her. Looks like she's really gonna go through with it. She's standing there on the opposite side of the hallway. What's she doing? I watch her for a while from a distance. It's like a repeat of our morning encounters. She seems frozen in place. The clubroom sits before her, its door closed. It could be bustling inside with would-be thespians practicing their lines for all she knows. The mere thought would surely be enough to give her the same out-of-place feeling she told me about this morning. It would definitely be awkward to join a club this far into the school year, so I can understand her hesitation. I wonder if it'd be likely to happen if she opened that door. Even if she introduced herself as a new member, the others might get confused or shrug her off entirely, seeing as she is a 3rd year. It'd be way easier if she knew just one other person, but I don't know for sure, but usually I think he does stream on Fridays and Saturdays. I think he's on streaming on Mondays now too. As he was talking last stream, he was saying like his new schedule that he wants to do Monday, Fridays, and Saturdays, I think. Because he doesn't have as much time to do the editing and things and working on other stuff. So he's like, I might as well hang out with you guys. And I think he also talked about making Saturdays community days? Or it was one of the days. It'd be way easier if she knew just one other person, but I'm sure she's having the same thoughts as I am. I'm pulled from my thoughts by seeing her mouth suddenly move ever so slightly. I can't hear her voice, but I try to read her lips. Did she just say Salisbury steak? I want a Salisbury steak! Stop talking about food! Kind of a weird time to think about dinner. Maybe I missed a word or something? I really think I caught everything, though. Well, regardless of what she said, she seems to have gained some confidence. I guess that's all that really matters. She grabs the door handle and pulls. Rattle. Rattle. She spoke, but no actual words follow. Her eyes are fixed straight ahead, looking into the club room. What's in there? What could have her in a daze like that? I run over to her side. Then from behind her, I look inside the classroom myself. Empty. A cluttered pile of cardboard boxes. That's all. Although the classroom is supposed to be used for clubs, it seems like it's become a closet of sorts. Now that I think about it, I do vaguely recall someone mentioning that the drama club had been shut down. I plop my hand down on the girl's head. Oh, hi. I didn't know you were there. Yeah, sorry. I came out to find you, but didn't want to interrupt once I saw you standing here. Why is your hand on my head? No reason, really. I see. Yep. So we stay there for a while, her standing dumbfounded, me behind her with my hand on top her head. Anyone passing by would probably be weirded out by the whole scene. My name's Tomoya Okazaki. I can't say it. Okazaki! From Class D. What about you? I'm Nagisa Furukawa from Class B. Nice to meet you. Yes, it's nice to meet you too. It's much too late for introductions at this point, but we exchanged them anyway. It was the fated day that we met.
それで
So,
演劇部はどこ
where
に
could the
行ったん
drama
でしょう
club have
か？
gone? Nice to meet you.
はい。
Yes, it's nice to meet you too.
で、
So the
演
drama
劇部
club.
は
Nice to meet you.
はい。
Yes, it's nice to meet you too.
で、
So the
演
drama
劇部
club.
は
Hey Sheep, Mint was asking you if you were streaming tonight. I told her that I believe you do. Was it Friday, Saturday? Wait, yeah. Friday, Saturday, and Monday, right? Well, now you're doing Mondays. Jeff or Sandy. We could rename them, but then I'd probably get confused. I'd have to get a piece of paper and, like, plug them together. Nice to meet you. Can you get home by yourself?
はい。
Yes, of
もちろんです。
course. Well, eat a Salisbury steak and cheer up.
え？
I want a Salisbury steak. I want
岡崎さんすごいです。
How do you know I wanted
今晩
Salisbury
ハンバ
steak
ーグ
for
にしようと
dinner?
思ってました。
I have a knack. She had lost everything she loved at this school, so in the place of all that, she rewarded herself with the food as a way to stay motivated and move forward. Anpan, though, really? She could have shot for something a little more highbrow? Don't be late tomorrow.
頑張ってみます。
Yeah, I'll try not to be. Okay, see you later.
はい。
Bye, Akazaki-san. Sayonara. Ugh. It'd be nice if it was dubbed. Like, I usually like the original audio and the subtitles, but if I'm reading it, it's like I'd rather have it dubbed. I don't have it in here for that, in the settings. I return home before the sun sets. Oh, got confused. Because it's like I see the mouse on my other screen, but then this one. As I get to the dorm and begin my walk down the hall, a horde of giant barrels toward me. God. Whoa! I just barely move out of the way as they rush past. They were a bunch of rugby guys. They run straight into their own rooms and slam their doors shut. Hey! A lone woman turns the corner and comes tearing down the hallway after them. I can't believe them. Boobies! Oh, she stops and stands next to me. She's the resident's dorm mother and purveyor of order on the premises, Masai Sagara. Though I don't live in the dorm, it's impossible to not have met her, seeing as I'm practically here every day. Blah, blah, blah. Peeking into the girls' dorm again? What are they, 12? Nearly grown men shouldn't act like they're still in grade school. They only think with their penis. You should know this. What timeline is this? What timeliness is this? Sorry. I'm good. Just talk to her. You're too easy on them, Miss Sai-san. You think so? She looks at me with an exhausted expression. Yeah, I mean, they're just dumb jocks who got into school on their ability to hit other dumb jocks over a leather ball. They won't understand anything unless you beat it into them. Is that really the only way? That's not how I like to do things. Right, but you're also not responsible for a dorm at some fancy all-girls school. You have to do what the situation calls for. Fen did what? Stupid autocorrect. Fen, explain. I did what? What did I do? I did nothing! You ignored it! Nothing! I guess I don't have a choice then. I'll give them a spanking next time. Oh no. It's not this kind of anime, guys. It's not this kind of anime. They'll just run off again if you do that. What should I do then? Put them in an arm lock until they shape up? But wouldn't they just break free from that too? They're rugby players after all. That's where you use technique to trump power. See, just take their arms like this and twist your body to throw them onto the floor.
そんなうまくい
I
か
don't
ない
know
ね
if that'd be that easy. Ka-chick!
何
What?
人の部屋
Are
の
you
前
having a
に
private conversation in front of my room? What's up, peeping Tom? Huh?
てん
Divine. Masai-san grabs Sonohara's arm. Punishment! So she tries it. It's like... no, there's no tentacles. Oh, he's gone! I don't... Like, I want to feel bad for him, but I don't feel bad for him. Sunohara's body does a 180. Oh, that shrill. No, it shouldn't be that bad. No, it's not that kind of amume. No. Masai-san's arm bars locked in
二度
tight.
と女子寮
Do you
覗かない
promise to never peek in the girls' dorm again?
はい
Yes,
覗きま
I
せん
promise I won't.
誓
Do you swear?
誓います
うよし
All right.
すごい
Wow, instant
Oh,
results. Yep, and devastating enough to get a false confession. Sunohara is twitching on the floor. Yay!
あー
Yeah, but
自分が暴力
it's just
的な
sad that I have to resort to violence. I never wanted to be that kind of dorm parent.
あ
I'm pretty sure it's not that bad. I've watched the anime. It shouldn't be it shouldn't be any worse than that can game. Oh my gosh, the can game. No. She walks off sighing. Just after that, another scream. Yeesh. I suddenly feel very bad for this place. She's a fast learner.
あのさ
Hey, did I do something wrong? I'm pretty sure you admitted to it while screaming out in agony.
激痛でなんか
The
よくわかんなかった
excruciating pain made it hard to understand what was going on. I lie sprawled out on Sunohara's floor reading
お
magazines.
前さ
Hey,
雑誌読むだけ
if
な
you're
ら
just
持って
gonna
帰ってい
read
いから
magazines, do
家
it
で
at
読め
home. You can take them with you if you want. I don't care. Aw, come on. I like reading them here, though.
どうしてだよ
Why? I don't know. I guess just being near you makes me calm down.
マジかよ
Seriously? Well, if you put it that way, I can't bring myself to kick you out.
おい
Oh, by the way, where's my
出
tea?
てってください
Leave. The tea you make so good, though.
一度も
I've never made you
言
tea before. Really?
そもそも
Honestly,
なんで僕は
Yakuzaki,
お前に
where do you
こ
get
う
off
言ってもらわないんだ
bossing me
よ
around like you do? Dude, you boss around everybody at school. Oh my gosh, you suck.
後輩でもないし腕っぷしだって僕の方が
I
強い
am
は
not
ずだ
doing only cans. And you're the one who streams on Wednesdays, yeah? Yeah, that's it. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, Saturday. Okay, I forgot Wednesday. But yeah, you do it. Not me. Hell no. Only no. Minty. Stap it. I bap you. I bap you with a newspaper. Bap. No. Bad. I mean Tuesdays. I do art on Tuesdays, silly. For one, I'm not younger than you. I'm probably stronger than you too. Sure you are.
なんだ
What is it? Like, if you want to settle who the alpha male is, I'm wide open. Let's do it right now. Flip. What?
むちゃくちゃ
You're
読書に
pretty-
没頭してますね
You're pretty into your book there, I see.
あれ返
Give
せ
that
よ
one back. I haven't even read it yet. Go reread an old magazine. Look, this one has an unfinished crossword puzzle. Come on, try filling it in.
お前の持ってる
You're holding the
次の
next
本に
issue with all of the answers in it, you know. Perfect then. We can compare answers later. I'll praise you for a job well done. If you get it all right, now go get him.
あんた何様
Who the hell do you think you are? Your master.
何のだよ
Of what? Quiet down. I can't concentrate. What? Why are you getting mad at me now? Boom. Shut up over there. The angry voice from outside the door causes Tsunohara to shrink into himself. See? You'll get another gang beating if you don't keep it down. You're the absolute worst. No, you are. Dang, fine. I really will do this crossword. You better admit defeat if I get all these correct. Sure, I'll get right on that. One across? What's the period from January 1st to 3rd called? What a stupidly easy question. 3-day vacation. Okay. Teacher, we have an idiot on our hands. What now? I can imagine her doing it, but with cursed Robotnik and bikinis only. This is... What? 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 Thank you for the hydrate, Minty. No, that's strange. What's wrong? The answer and the number of spaces don't match up. Something's wrong with this puzzle. You're such an idiot. What's wrong is your answer. Forget it, I quit. What a stupid, boring puzzle. Context needed for Fen, yes. First Robotnik, bikinis only, what's happening? What? Tsunohara tosses the magazine into the corner of his room out of frustration. Isn't there something fun we could do? Oh yeah. That thing was pretty interesting, wasn't it? What thing? That commotion by the school gates? Oh, with that Tomoyo girl? Yeah, that. I don't like it when people try to stand out like that. It's just one big farce. Huh? What do you mean? One girl taking two guys out on her own? There's no way. You were watching, weren't you? You can't deny reality. That had to have been an act. I bet those guys were just a couple of plants. It's gotta be why they did it so far from everyone. That way people wouldn't catch on. Plus it was like the perfect place to get attention. A little too perfect. And now, lo and behold, she's starting to get popular because of it. Coincidence? I think not. It was just a cheap ruse that worked because the kids at our school don't know what a real fight looks like. It's too bad, too. Our school has a veteran who's fought his way through countless battles right here. Hey, you're making me blush. I'm talking about myself. Liar. You just don't know the stories. When I was a freshman, I was known as a vicious street fighter. Really, man? That's the story you're going with? A street fighter with that scrawny build? Okazaki? Power doesn't come from appearances. It's about strength, right? Listen to you contradicting yourself. You were just telling me how a girl could never possibly fight on her own just because she's a girl. Okay, fine. How about this then? I'll pick a fight with her tomorrow. Do it, man. Do it. Do it. That way I could show you how strong I am while also proving that she's nothing but a fraud. Okay, well, break a leg. I turn over with the magazine still in my hands. What? Hey, Google, stop. When did I ever say Google? Because all of a sudden Google's like, okay, I'm gonna play music. Shut up. Hey, Google, stop. I told you to stop. Didn't even listen to me and decided, you know what, I'm gonna play anyway. Google, you little pain in my ruckus. So what's going on? So what are you gonna do with the Anka Dance emote request since they somehow rejected it? It's sad. I don't know what I can do with it. I was thinking about just using it on the Discord, but then I would need Nitro in order to do any animated emotes on there. And from what I've heard, that Nitro's not worth it, but I don't know all the details, so I guess I'd have to look into that myself. But, yeah, other than that, I'm not sure what to do with it. And if they rejected it for an emo, I'm not sure if I could use it on stream either, you know? Even though there's probably absolutely nothing wrong with it. But yeah. Yeah, I'm still mad about that too. Trying not to think about it, but it sucks. I haven't itched for a fight like this in a while. No. Hey, I want to get to bed soon. It's already 3 a.m.
困ってくの
Are you gonna stay over?
じゃあ電気消す
If you
よ
are, I'm turning off the lights. Whoa, stop!
Huh?
Huh? I'm not staying over.
あ、そう
Okay.
じゃあもう寝る
Well,
から
I'm gonna
出て
sleep,
って
so
くれ
can
る
you leave? You don't have to tell me. I toss the magazine away and stand up. Just as I pull the doorknob, I stop and stand there. By the way, have you heard? They say some creepy stuff happens late at night in the storm.
なんだよ
What? Never mind.
最後まで言え
Finish
よ
what you're saying! Okay, good night! I close the door. You're just terrible. Both y'all. I hear moans of agony come streaming from his room, but I ignore them as I leave the dorm. The illusionary world. I'm looking at it. A distant world. It's a dim, dark place. Where could this be? I think I'm inside a room. It's deserted, though. I could see a desk at least. Someone should be sitting there, but they're not. Not a thing here moves. Only time as it passes by unflinchingly. If I were a new life searching for a place to be born, I think that this would be the wrong place to choose. I'm frightened by it, this world. I've long since come to realize something. This world has already come to an end. Nothing will be born here again, nor will anything die. Even time doesn't exist in this place. Nothing new can come to an end. Life was once born here, but that was all. Once you're shut in this never-ending world, you can't ever escape, unable to die and unable to be born into a new world. That is the frozen world I now see. I'll just close my eyes and leave this place. That's my thinking anyway. Please, next time I wake up, don't let it be here. Let it be a better, warmer world. I move my eyes. Very dramatic. It was dramatic in the beginning, too. They would have scenes like this. Like, what is it, from a poem or something? No, I know it's not, but very dramatic. And cut myself off from this world. Just then, I see a momentary flicker of light. Something moved. I don't know what it is, but I'm certain that something's here with me. Had this place not come to an end after all? Or is it just something that's already been living here? Light escapes through a window and reaches the wall in front of me. Something in its shadows is moving. Perhaps I would have seen it if I'd been able to move my eyes, but I still don't know its true identity. It's moving slowly. Eventually, the light on the wall returns to its original shape, but then out of nowhere, a single girl appears before me. I could tell that she's still innocent. Her eyes are transfixed in my direction. Can she see me? She holds out her hand, but it doesn't touch me. Instead, it goes right through. Yes, I haven't been born in this world, so I can't be touched. But in that case, how did the girl notice me? Am I simply visible and that's it? If that is the case, what do I look like then? The girl has pulled back her hand and is now waving to me. Then she leaves. I can't see her anymore. Someone was here, in this place. What could she be doing in an already finished world? How does she live? What nourishes her? What, if anything, is letting her stay alive? For some reason, I can't stop thinking about her. Is it because of how different this place is? I'm still frightened. This is not a world to be born into, but a girl lives in it. Is that why? I see this world again. Much of it is a boring, unmoving place, but from time to time a girl appears. She and I are unable to communicate our thoughts to one another, so all she does is look at me, and all I can do is look at her back, but I'm certain that I had been longing for this moment. The girl's life is one of solitude. There's no one here aside from her. That much is obvious. Like I said, nothing can be born here, and yet nothing can die. That's the nature of this place. That must be why. Why she's able to look at someone like me, yet never get bored. One day, the girl appears in front of me with her arms full of something. They're pieces, both large and small, of scrap. Items whose uses are unknown. Things that could only be described as junk. The girl spends a long time putting the junk together. How much time has passed anyway? Before I know it, though, a doll stands in front of her, about half her height. She seems proud as she stands up, turning toward me. When I see her face, I finally come to a realization that body is for me. But what am I supposed to do with it? I'm unsure. Should I wish to be born into this world? Has that been my wish? I'm still afraid of this place. A world without life or death that can never be escaped? If this world truly is that closed off, this is where I would come to an end. The girl has her arm outstretched. I stare at her scraped and scratched hand. This world's one source of warmth. At some point, it had become what I sought. April 16th, Wednesday. The warm spring sunlight shines down on me. A refreshing breeze blows past. I've plenty of leeway to make it to school on time. If I keep walking at this pace, there's no way I'll be late. It's not that I believe Fujibayashi's fortune from yesterday. However, just to be safe, I'm walking to school earlier than usual. But then again, to other students, this might already count as being a bit late. There aren't that many people wearing school uniforms along this road anymore. In any case, it's still early enough for me to get to school on time. Now, according to Fujibayashi's fortune, there should be an old lady having trouble crossing the street, and I'll be late if I were to help her. To begin with, there isn't an old lady at the crosswalk. I glance just beyond the white lines painted like a ladder on the asphalt. I don't like this. Where am I looking? There's an old lady holding onto a utility pole with her hips stooped. She keeps glancing left and right. No matter how I look at it, something's wrong. All the other students feign ignorance and simply walk past her, and our eyes meet. Perhaps it's just me, but it feels like she's staring at me. It almost feels like she's slightly saying, "You can't even lend a helping hand when others are in trouble." If I give in to those eyes, will Fujibayashi's fortune come true? Luffy! She's a grown woman, right? She can fend for herself. You made it this far, you just need a break. I'm back from the fridge. We've gotten to the point where we have to either help or ignore the old lady. Oh gosh, Floopy! I never thought you would have been the type. Leave her. Oh, okay. Ready, aren't I? Nah, I'll just walk past her. I'd rather not be late like Fujibashi said, all for some old hag that I don't know. To make it sound cool, I'm standing up against fate. I'll defy the future that her fortune foretold. I look away as I walk past the lady. I can feel her eyesight pricking my skin. Well, Granny, if you want to blame someone, blame my class president. You have lived for a long time, and so you should know the transience of life very well. Now you feel bad? Now? You've done this. In any case, I walk past her without incident. Excuse me, ma'am, are you trying to cross the street? Right after I walk past the old lady, a female student talks to her. It makes me feel a little guilty. Yeah! What's going on? Was I mistaken? Yeah! For some reason, the lady starts threatening the girl. Thank goodness I didn't talk to her. At any rate, Fujibayashi's fortune turned out to be wrong, I guess. It's been a while since I've attended homeroom. I say attended, but all I really did was sit there in the classroom. I don't remember a thing the teacher said. She's just an old hag. Well, I guess we don't have to feel bad anymore. Hooray! The bell rings and ends homeroom. The homeroom teacher walks out of the room. It's now the short recess before first period. Rather than preparing for the lesson, I space out. No. Fujibayashi looks at me with her timid-looking eyes. You're not late today. Yeah, your fortune was off. Yes, thank goodness. Thank goodness? Shouldn't you be disappointed? That's not true. But your fortune was off. I think it's good if certain fortunes don't come true. Huh? Is that so? That's because I think it's a good thing you came to school on time. Having said so, Fujibayashi pulls her deck of cards out of her pocket again. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Looks like she's telling my fortune once again. Shuffle, 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 shuffle. Oh! Clatter. And they fall all over the floor again. However, unlike yesterday, she does not immediately pick up the cards. She stares at them on the floor. Okazaki-kun, something good will happen to you tomorrow. What? You'll also have a lovely encounter. Hold on, you're telling me that just by looking at the cards on the floor? Yes. I didn't even get to pick any cards this time. That's how this fortune works, I think. What do you mean you think? Besides, didn't you go, ah, when you dropped the cards? That was, a secret chant. Yeah, right, some secret chant that was. Well, fine, so what's my fortune? You'll have an intense impact. The hell is that? It'll refresh both your body and spirit and get you through the day safely. I don't get it. It's the fortune telling after all. A maiden's intuition again? That's right. So what's that lovely encounter about? Yes, that card there. Fujibayashi points at a single card. It's the Queen of Spades. You'll meet a really gentle girl. Gentle? Yes, she's gentle. Spade represents a sword. In other words, she's someone who will protect you, like a knight. Okay, so she's gentle, but she's got a sword? What? That's why I'm sure she'll be a gentle person. A sword. If I had to choose, I'd say that means aggressive. Wouldn't that make her a dangerous person instead? Will today's fortune come true? It's fortune-telling after all. That sure is a vague response. I'm tired. It's been a long time since I've attended first period, and just like homeroom, I don't remember a single thing that was said. On top of that, I feel terrible as everything is putting me to sleep. Should I sleep through second period, or should I just leave the classroom and ditch? Whoa, why are you here? Just as I was zoning out, I hear a familiar voice from above my head. This voice is... This sure doesn't happen often. It's still morning. Yo? I see familiar face. It's Ryo Fujibayashi's twin sister, Kyo Fujibayashi. Even though I'm branded as a delinquent, she's one of the few students who doesn't mind talking to me. She's part of another class. Why are you here? Because of this. She shows me what seems to be a lunchbox wrapped in a napkin with a floral pattern. You giving me that? You're really an idiot, aren't you? Why would I give you a lunchbox? That's true. I would find it perplexing if she suddenly gave me one for no reason. Rather, it would make me wonder if she had poisoned it. You're thinking something rude, aren't you? It's just your imagination. Oni-chan. What's the matter? Hey, Ryo here! As Fujibayashi walks toward us, Kyo swings the lunchbox she's holding in her hand. Oh, my lunch! A sword, I know who she means. Yeah? Who does she mean? Yep, you left it on the table. Thanks for bringing it. Don't mention it. Why are you handing it to her now, of all times? Huh? What of it? Like the two of you live together? Why are you handing her the lunchbox now? Don't you two come to school together? Oni-chan slept in a little today. Wake her up. Well, I kept trying until I had to go. I'm not bragging, but I'm terrible at waking up on time. Does she throw a fit? She's quiet, doesn't move, and keeps her eyes half closed. That's creepy. Huh? But you weren't late now, were you? Oh, yes, when I run short of time, I take the bus. Oh, so you two took different buses? I hate buses. So only you were late, huh? No way, I made it on time. Try pressing for details, or don't worry about it. Details. Did you run? Well, something like that. You flew! Because it's an anime! I was going pretty fast for just a little bit. Fast? One-chan, you were using that again? What? That's a secret! Okay. I think you shouldn't do that so often, though. You just hit someone yesterday. Hit someone? That's even more of a secret. It kind of feels like she just inadvertently said something pretty scary. Are you hiding something? Not really. It's bad taste to pry into a girl's secrets. In any case, what about you? What do you mean? Why are you here? That's awfully rude. Oh, was that too ambiguous? Why are you here in this classroom so early? I got here on time. What else? She froze. You're kidding. Is it that rare for me to be here on time? It's not rare, it's just I would say I have a better chance of seeing a UFO. Oh? Guess my presence transcends even supernatural phenomena. Oh, could it be that you stayed here after class yesterday? Did you really? Like the hell I did. Then you must be an imposter. Eh? You aren't Okazaki-kun? Where's the real one then? Oh my gosh. Ugh. I let out a sigh and glanced at the sky. I fought my fate today. Yo looks a little worried and places her hand on my forehead. I don't have a fever. Don't give me that pitying look. Don't mock me. What should I do then? Wouldn't you normally ask, what fate? Could it be the fortune I told you? Imposter! Oh yeah, the girl who beat up the bikers. Maybe. Could it be the fortune I told you? Yeah, that's right. Did Rio tell your fortune? Yeah. After my response, Kyo looks at me with a weird expression on her face. What's with that look? Nothing. Oh, I told him another one this morning. What was it? Huh? Jeez, Kyo, your sister is such a bird brain. Wham! Ouch! Come again? Didn't you hit me because you heard me? Oh, I remember now. A gentle girl will have an intense impact on him, and both his body and mind will be refreshed. Yep, that's it. Again, why are you looking at me like that? As she takes a breath, Kyo shakes her head and lays her hand on my shoulder. She then nods. Her eyes conceal a hint of pity. Well, hang in there, she says, and then leaves the classroom. What's that supposed to mean? I wonder. Fujibashi and I left to puzzle over this mystery during the short time before the next bell. Second period begins. I drift off, lost in my thoughts as the teacher drones on in the background. I think of... the girl. No, the girl! Curse this cursor! Ah, fudge. Can I go back? No. My own past. I can't recall stuff from a long time ago, and the more recent things that I can, well, I'd rather not remember at all. Those memories are all stained with disappointment. I continue resting my chin on my hands, still looking out the window. I stay like this until class ends. Just as second period ends. What's up? I'm here! Tsunahara appears. What are you here for? Didn't I tell you last night? I'm gonna challenge Tomoyo, that second year girl. I'm about to head out to do it. You were serious about that? Listen, these kinds of things just need to be nipped in the bud. I've got a teacher that she can't get away with acting like that at this school. Come on, let's go. I don't want to, but you know what? No, I want to see him get beat up. Let's do this. What was her name again? I think it was Tomoyo Sakagami, if I remember right. What a boring name. Sure is fitting for someone who would play such petty tricks. Says the guy with almost impossible to read last name. That's got nothing to do with this.
今クラス聞
I
いてき
just
た
went asking around what
Maybe
class she's in.
that's it.
Apparently it's 2B. It's meant to be.
ここだ
Here it is. I look up at the number above the door. It reads 2B.
行くぞ
Let's go. Go by yourself. That I
や
will.
るさ
Sunohara brazenly enters the second-year classroom. He catches a couple of guys chatting to the entrance and asks them something. He then comes back.
いいねって
They
の
say she's not here. Won't she come back eventually if you just wait here?
さあどう
I'm
か
not
な
so sure about that.
やら
She is
せ
the
で
type
人
to
気を
try
稼ぐ
gaining
ようなやつだから
popularity
な
by faking these crazy stunts after all.
どっかの
She probably
教室
took the
に
guys to
男
some
を連れ
empty
込んで
classroom and is... And what?
そ
Well,
そりゃ
doing something
Yeah.
indecent.
邪魔だ。
You're in my way. Sussy fan, no sussy Sunohara, dude. A girl shoves Sunohara to the side and enters the classroom. Man, so you really are weak, aren't you? I stay crouching down next to him as he's lying face down in an awkward position.
工房も
Even a
不意打ちには
Buddhist
勝てず
master can't win against a surprise attack. So, in that hat of yours, Buddhists are martial artists or something? You really are a dumb booty.
例えだろうが例え
It's just a figure of speech. All of a sudden, he snaps and gets up. Then how about you try saying it
知
correctly?
るかボケ
Like I give a poop. Looks like he really is a dumb butt.
そう今
Dang, that guy who
さ
pushed me just now is definitely in for a beating.
っき僕
Whoever just knocked me over, show yourself. He shouts deep into the classroom. The classroom becomes still as death. From within, I can hear the grating noise of a chair's legs.
うるさいぞ。
You're being loud. A lone female student stands up. Her overpowering gaze pierces right through Sunohara.
岡崎さんよ
You see this, Okazaki-san? Yeah, how lucky. Now you don't have to pick a fight with her.
なんだ。
What?
私
You
に
have some
なんか
business with me?
面貸せ
Hey,
よ
come with
ほら
me, you bad person. I don't really care what you do, but man, every single one of your lines sure is
水
lame.
を差すなこら
Quit ruining the mood, you bee.
なんだ。
What are you angry about? What did I... what I did earlier?
入り口で立っている
If you stand
邪
in
魔だろ
front of the entrance, you're
うちの
blocking
ク
the
ラスの
way.
連中も迷
You're
惑する
bothering the rest of my class as well.
知るか
I
こ
don't
ら
give a, you bee.
わかった。
Alright, I understand. I'll be a bit more gentle next time. He tries to go back into the
おい
classroom.
待てよ
Hey, wait! He grabs her by the shoulder.
なんだ。
What?
まだよか。
You have something else to say to me?
謝って
This
すぐ
isn't
問題
something you
が
can
出ん
just
だよ
fix with an apology.
いや、
I wasn't really
謝ってもいいんだ。
apologizing, though. Man, you're sure being treated like a fool. You, come out into the hallway. She looks around her. There are a lot of people staring at us.
仕方のない
What a
話だな
hopeless guy. Alright, I'll accompany you. She leaves the classroom. Beat him! Beat him up!
そういや
That
昨日も
reminds me, you fought with some
こうして
guys
男と
yesterday in the
やり合ってたよ
same
な
way, didn't you?
ああ、
Yeah,
そうだ
that's
ったな
right.
ご苦労な
Well
こった
done at that. I guess it
人
ain't
気稼
easy
ぎ
getting
楽じゃない
popular.
ね
人気稼ぎ。
Getting popular?
やらせなんだろ
It was all staged,
Yeah,
right?
that's it.
All fake.
女が男
There's
に
no
勝
way
て
a
る
girl
はず
could
あ
win
りま
against
せ
a
ん
guy. Why is this the one thing you're being so dang critical about?
金でも渡
You
して
gave them money or
負けてもらってるん
something so
だ
you'd
ろ
lose to you on purpose, right?
それとも
Or did you perhaps not
金じゃ
pay them
な
with
くて
money,
こっちの
but with
方
something else? Oh, shut up.
女の子
It sure
はいい
seems
ね
nice being a girl, being
そういう
able
の
to
に
turn
バカな
foolish
男
boys
は
into
言
your
いなりになっ
slaves
ちゃうん
just
だ
like
から
that.
どうしたの
What's wrong? Are you speechless
過ごして
because I got
何
it
も言え
spot
なくなっちゃ
on?
ったの
Beat him. Beat him up. Kill him. Skin him.
喜べ。
Rejoice.
何が
About what?
同校の生徒
I
には
decided I
手を出
wouldn't
さな
lay
い
a
と思って
hand
た
on
から
any
な。
students from this school.
お前だけは
But I'll
特
make
別
an
に愛してや
exception
る
especially for you.
そもそもお前
Yeah,
自
right?
身
Please.
素行の悪い
Since it
不良
seems
生
like
徒
you
のようだから
yourself are just an ill-behaving delinquent to begin with, so they probably won't reprimand me at all much for this. Yeah, they won't, so give them your all.
お前どっちの
Just
味
whose
方
side
だよ
are you on? Not yours, that's for sure.
言ってろ
Well, say what you want, I'll be making you reevaluate your stance
そ
shortly.
れるなよ
Just don't fall for me, okay? This guy is disgusting. Thank you!
いつでも来い
Come
よ
at me whenever you want.
一応正
I like to be
当防衛
able
にした
to
いから
call
な
this self-defense, by the way, so please, you come at me.
そんなこと
You'd
言って
better not regret those
後悔
words.
すんなよ
Yes, throw him out the window.
さあ しない
Yep, I won't. I have
自信あるから
confidence.
な
Don't get so full of yourself.
死ね
Really? You scream die? Tsunohara throws a punch at her after those famous last words. And at that very moment, I remembered. I'd heard rumors here and there. Now you're gonna remember? That at one time there'd been an incredibly strong girl in this town. She would wander the town at night, prowling, hunting down any people who bothered innocent citizens. Illuminated under the moonlight, she would be absolutely terrifying and absolutely beautiful. Damn! That's the rumor I heard.
やられる前に
Tell
言
me
えよ
that before I get beaten up. Tsunohara had been beaten to a pulp. Hooray! And since classes had already started, Tomoyo had disappeared as well. Even if I had told you, you still wouldn't have stopped, right?
ま
Well, that may be true, but still. Dang, you aren't reliable as a friend after all. You call him a friend? Dude, you guys are hopeless. Sorry, but I don't think of us as
あ
friends.
思えよ
What? Why not? You know, you were really lame just now, right? First, you keep yapping on about being really strong despite appearances. And then when you actually go and pick a fight, you immediately get completely demolished? Man, that's such an embarrassing way to go. But even so, no matter how pathetic you are, at the very least, I alone will stay your friend forever, so don't worry!
友達だと思わなくて
It's fine if you don't think of me as a friend. See?
くそ
Dang, why did it
なん
end
でこんな
up
ことになっ
like
ちまっ
this?
たんだよ
It's because you're weak.
違うね
You're wrong. Seriously, I'm actually quite strong physically. Ah, so that's why after you went and picked a fight, you immediately got completely demolished? Man, that's such an embarrassing way to go. But even so, no matter how pathetic you are, at the very least, I alone will stay your friend forever, so don't worry. Why did he say that again? Okay, quit repeating that. Because I was like, why? But hadn't you heard those rumors too?
ああ
Yeah, I had, but still,
け
it's
どそれこそ
exactly
噂だぜ
that, right? Just a rumor?
そんな化け物
I
の
never
ような
believed
奴
such a
が存在
monster
するなんて
actually
思わなかったん
existed.
つうか
No, actually, I still don't believe it even now. So then what? Do we conclude that you're far weaker than even the average girl?
いや違う
No, that's wrong.
なま
I
って
was
た
just rusty. Are you talking about your brain?
腕だよ
I'm talking about my skills.
急に動か
It's
して
because I
た
tried to go all out so suddenly. I hadn't yet recovered my old combat instincts either. So, what do you plan on doing now?
もちろんリゾンベだ
Naturally, resign. You mean revenge?
ああそれ
Yeah,
リベンジ
that, revenge.
岡崎
Kazaki, you tag along with me after school? I'll be off warming up my body until then. With that, he stands up and starts to walk away on unsteady feet. Don't you have anything better to do? With no plans to go to college after graduating, nothing feels more meaningless to me right now than sitting through class. Tsunohara just left to train on his own. I'm bored. My mind continues turning out the teacher's words. The subjects may change here and there, but it's all the same to me, really. Don't skip. Be good. It's not like there's anything else fun to do. I guess it's just a waste of my time here. The way that the teacher kind of just materializes. There we go. Morning class has finally come to an end. How did these guys manage to sit through 4 hours of classes every morning? I was only able to stomach it because it was the first time in a while I'd made it to school in time for the first period. I guess I'll go eat lunch. The cafeteria is as crowded as ever today. I notice a girl standing quietly by the entrance of the cafeteria. She's completely still, waiting for the chaos to subside. If you just stand there, all that'll be left is Anpan. I approach her. Despite standing right in front of her, she doesn't notice me. It's as though she could never imagine meeting an acquaintance in a place like this. Hey. Huh? Ah! She takes several steps back in surprise. Oh, Okazaki-san.
岡崎さんもい
So,
らしたん
you
です
were
ね
here too? Yeah.
何ですか
For bread? Yeah.
そうですか
I see. I think bread is a
とてもいい
wonderful
と思います
choice. What about you?
私ですか
What about me? It somehow feels like she's forcing herself to act cheerful. Like she wants to show off her good side even to someone like me.
私は
Well, I was thinking of buying
今日は
something
販
other
売
than
以外のもの
Anpan
を買って
today,
みよう
but
かと
she looks at the crowd of students.
やっぱり
I don't think I'll be able to after all. Did you even try to get one?
はい
Yes, I did. I was the first one to leave the classroom.
でも
But our class
授
finished
業が終
late
わるのが
and
遅くすでにこんな
it was
状況
already
でした
like this when I got here. Yeah, I wouldn't expect a girl to be able to get something popular unless her class let out early.
ちょっと残念で
It's
す
too bad. She did try, so I guess I don't have a choice. I'll go in there and get something for you. Which is why I tell her that. What?
そんな
But no,
悪い
you
ですか
shouldn't.
ら
I'm good at this kind of thing. Just leave it to me. What kind of bread do you
い
want?
え
No, I
申し訳
couldn't
ないです
ask you to. Does a cutlet sandwich sound good?
カツサンドとい
Cutlet
う
sandwich? I've heard legends that those are the most popular item on the menu. Legends? They're just sandwiches, you know. So cutlet sandwich?
私には
Something
もっ
that
たいない
nice
ぐらい
would be
のパンです
wasted on me. Are you sure you don't mind? Does it matter what I think? You just worry about getting one. You want one, right?
はい
Yes, I would love to try one. Okay, I'll be back in a bit.
KG Kittens says mother. Give me the Anpan. Furukawa doesn't deserve it.
He doesn't. I want it. I want it. We'll share it. Me and you, Hedgie. Share it.
はい
Alright,
Onegaishimasu.
good luck. I'm just waiting to put that in there, Kaiju. I toward the crowded bread counter. I forced my way through the other students to the front of the display case, but I'm far too late. Of course there wouldn't be any cutlet sandwiches left at this point. I escaped the crowded scene gasping for
大
breath.
丈夫です
Are you
か
alright? Sorry, I can only get takoyaki bread. Ooh, that sounds good too.
いえ
No, that's
全然
completely
構わ
fine.
ないですとても美味し
It
そう
looks
です
delicious. Really? Well, if you say so. Yeah, like these kids, they fight each other tooth and nail to get the best bread. They hound over the window, give it to me!
はい
Yes,
初めて
it's my
食べま
first
した
time having
と
one.
ても楽しみ
I'm
です
really looking forward to it. Well, here you go, 150 yen.
はい
Okay,
少し待って
hang
く
on
だ
one
さい
second, please.
150
150 yen exactly. She takes out a cute wallet and places some coins in my
ありが
hand.
とうございま
Thank
した
you very much. Ah, that's when I notice. I forgot to buy something for myself. The strength drains from my body and I hang my head. What am I doing?
どうしました
Is something the matter? She asked me as I continue to stand still after taking her money. I haven't bought anything for myself yet. Huh?
だったら
In that case, Okazaki-san, you should eat this, please. No, it's fine. I'll just wait for the crowd to die down.
それだと
But only
看板
Anpan
し
will
か
be
残ら
left
ない
if you
です
do that. Is Anpan really that bad? What is it exactly? Can we get a food sounding good to Fen counter? No! That would be a good idea, actually. Now that you say it, I say that often, don't I? Oh, crud. Hooray! Thanks. Thanks, man.
代わりに
I'll
私
go
が
buy
買ってき
something
ます
for you. What?
どんなのがいいですか
What would you like? Some kind of bread with toppings on it.
コロッケパン
So,
と
a
か焼きそばパン
croquette
ですね
sandwich or yakisoba pan? Yeah.
それでは
Okay, I'll be back
行ってきます
soon. Furukawa goes to stand at the end of the line, leaving me behind. She doesn't seem to have any intention whatsoever of forcing her way through the scores of people. I'm sorry, I ended up with Anpan. A wry smile finds its way onto my face. That's fine, I'm okay with Anpan.
私のたこ
Why
焼
don't we
きパン
trade? It's fine, I used to eat those things like crazy.
アンパンは
You don't eat
あまり食べない
Anpan very often? Barely ever. I can't remember the last time I had
な
one.
ら
In that
久しぶりに
case,
食
try
べてみて
having a
ください
bite.
美味しいです
They taste very good. But then, of course, I don't like sweets. After that, we moved to the courtyard to eat our food. You know, I'm the same way as you. Always late for school. I'm a delinquent.
え
What? I'm notorious around here for goofing off too much at night and being chronically late for class as a result. I just so happened to not be late today, but I'm pretty sleepy now because of it. I let out a yawn.
本当ですか
Really? Yeah, just late. Just last night I didn't get home until 4 in the
タバ
morning.
コとか
Do you smoke too? No, I'm not one of those non-smoker hoodlums.
ならよかったです。
That's good. I can't stand the smell of cigarettes. My father smokes all the time. I can't go into his room because of how much it smells like smoke. Oh, the smell really sticks to my clothes too, so I have to wash them constantly. That sucks. Excuse me. Anpan is a Japanese sweet roll mostly commonly filled with red bean paste. Anpan can also be prepared with other fillings, including white beans, green beans, sesame, and chestnut. I'd like to try chestnut. That sounds good. And the red bean one. Okay, so I guess it's just a base. I don't know. I guess the others are more specialty, like meat ones. I guess they're more filling. I don't know. Because, like, what's so wrong about Anpan? It doesn't sound bad.
大変なんです。
It's just awful. It feels like it's the first time I've ever seen her smile. I wonder if she's usually smiling like this at home. At least her family cares for her. I feel relieved knowing that. Hey, what are you doing after this? What do you mean? Well, you know, after the way the whole drama club thing turned out.
物置です。
You mean realizing the room was a closet? Yeah, unfortunately the club was shut down. I remembered hearing rumors about it after the fact. There was no point in hiding it from her. I let her know just how it was.
廃部という
Shut down?
こと
So
は
that does mean the school no longer has a drama club after all? 2. Thanks, Floof. Gee, thanks. That's right, it doesn't. It was the last hope she was hanging on to at this place, and now,
仕方ない
well,
です。
what can you do?
誰も悪くないです
There's no
から
one to blame for that. Yeah, there isn't. You were just
そう
unlucky.
ですね。
You're right. She seems to have accepted the news much better than I expected.
サンド。
Outlet sandwich. Sorry, I couldn't get one.
Ah.
Oh, no, I was just...
わがまま
I
言って
didn't
る
mean
わ
to
けじゃな
sound
く、
needy.
その
I just thought it'd be nice to be able
いつ
to
か食べ
eat
られ
one
たらいいな
someday.
ということ。
Now I remember. This is what she does to keep pushing herself forward. Which means that what I just told her must be weighing heavily on her mind. That's no real surprise, though. She doesn't have any friends, and the drama club she wanted to join so badly is no longer around. Oh,
誰か
someone's
見て
looking
ま
this
すよ、
way.
こっち。
She peers up at one of the school building windows. You're right.
私たち
I wonder if we're
邪
bothering
魔じゃ
them.
ないでしょうか。
Nah, we've been here this whole time, haven't we?
そうです。
Yeah, you're right. Try waving at them. What? Wave your hand at them and smile while you do it. That might give them something to talk to you about.
私一
Me?
人ですか。
By myself? Yeah, I mean, what do you think would happen if I was to wave? That's a girl up there, you know.
でもいいと思い
What's your
ますけど。
point? Well, it looked like I was hitting on them if I was the one to wave. Come on, you can do it yourself. I raise her hand for her.
えっと、
You said to smile, right? Yeah, big smile.
えっと、
She flaps her hand back and forth through the air with a grin on her face. The figure at the window disappears without warning. Ah, her expression freezes.
カツサンド。
Cutlet sandwich. Pork chop sandwiches. Sorry about that.
あ、いえ、
Oh no.
今のは
I didn't mean to
わがまま言ってるわ
sound
けじゃな
needy
く
by
てです
saying
ね。
that. I just... She repeats the same excuse over again. Munch munch.
びっくりする
This
くら
is
い美味しいです。
surprisingly
へ
good.
へへ。
The two of us keep our heads affixed to the sky. I wonder if someone will ever come down from the heavens to help
も
her.
しできるな
If
ら
I could... Hikuwara begins to speak.
演
Hirokawa.
劇部を
I
ま
like
た
to
作りたいです
recreate the drama club. Hearing those words makes me happy. I'm not sure if she was even capable of saying something that positive when we first met. Then you should do it. It's easy.
本当です
Really?
か？
Easy? What? Yeah, that's what I thought. Maybe they were running to greet them. Really? Yeah, as long as you're dedicated enough.
でも
I think it would be a lot
大
of
変な
work.
ことだと思います。だから、
So if it's
ぜひ
possible,
岡崎さん、
I'd like to ask you to be the
部長になって
club
ください。
president, Okazaki-san. A pork cutlet bowl. Stop talking about food!
はい。
Excuse me? Oh, I was just thinking of how much I like the pork cutlet bowl at the cafeteria, that's all. Anyway, you're the one who wanted to be club president. I'm hungry. I'm not even interested in place.
そうです。
Stop it! I didn't say I wanted it. I see. Well, that's too bad. You better not tell me you're giving up because of that.
でも
But
二人きりは寂しい
doing it by
です。
myself would be pretty lonely. Well, the solution to that problem's easy. Just get more club members.
KG Kittens says what? Does that pork cutlet bowl sound good?
Shut up. Shut up, Edgy. She looks worried. Or to be more accurate, she seems to be regretting doing something that she can't take back. I feel a little bit sorry for her. Ah, help her. But you know, I decide to speak up. I won't join the club, but I could at least help you find people who will. Her eyes open wide and she looks at
本当です
me.
か？
Really? Really? Yeah, I promise. I'll do everything I can to help you until you become a wonderful club president.
なら
In that case,
頑張ってみ
I'll
ます。
try my best. Alright. What am I happy about? I just promised to spend a bunch of my time helping out the drama club. At the time of year when everyone's busy cramming for entrance exams. No. I'm more like her than them anyway. Even the bystander detached and watching from
何
afar.
か言いま
Did
し
you
た
just
か？
say something? No, wouldn't it be great if something like half of the school joined the drama club?
多すぎです。
That would be too many. Oh, well, it's always a good idea to set your sights high, so let's pretend that's our goal. I really think that's too many people, but okay. You can do it, Furukawa-san. It's my first time calling her by that name. Okay. I'm hungry. During classes after lunch, I look out the window and see a certain student bunny hopping, still in a school uniform. If you'd put that much work into sports or studying, you would have turned out great. Homeroom ends and it's after school. Tsunohara comes up to me waving his way through the students heading home.
ついにこ
The
の時
time
が
has
来た。
finally arrived. Your hair's pretty messed up. What kind of training have you been doing?
最後は鉄
For the
棒に
last
足で
part,
ぶら
I
下が
hung
って
myself from an iron bar and did upside down sit-ups. Even the sports club don't do that kind of harsh training.
ようやく
It
体
feels
が
as
動き
though
始
my
めたって
body has
感じだよ。
finally woken up. I see. So your sleeping sphincter muscles have finally awakened. Ew! Yeah, they're all revved up and ready to go. Don't come too close or you'll be in danger, boy. You don't know what that is? What is he gonna strangle me to death with with his butthole?
準備万端。
All preparations done. Let's go. Oh my. Oh my.
何なんだ
So just why did you call me all that way out here? Blah, 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 blah. We confront Tomoyo in a deserted hall in the old school building. This guy here is my friend Tsunohara. Please, just spare a little time to listen what he has to say. All he wants is to show you the pure feelings he has for you.
今からここ
Stop
みたいな
making it look
シチュエーション
like I'm gonna
作るなよ。
confess! Huh?
朝は
How
よく
dare
戻
you
ってく
do
れた
me in
な。
like that this morning?
やったもない
I
もん
didn't do anything. You were the one who started it.
なもん関
That
係
doesn't
ねえ。
matter. What matters are the end results.
こいつ
This guy is an idiot, isn't he? Yep.
二人
You
意気投合す
two
る
quit
な。
getting along. Calm down, Tsunohara. Just take deep breaths.
って誰が慌
Wait,
てたて
you're
た
the
んだ
one
よ。
agitating me here. Dang, I'm tired of being insulted like this.
もういい。
Well, whatever. I only underestimated you before. However,
けど
this time will be
今は
different.
懲りないやつ
You
だな
really never learn, do
差は
you?
歴然だった
Was the
ろ
difference between our levels not clear enough already?
その差がこの
How do you
短時
plan
間
on
でどう
closing a
詰ま
gap that large in such a short amount of time?
るやめておけ
Just give up. Tsunohara is being admonished by a junior, and a girl at that. I see you're underestimating me. It's probably natural, considering she absolutely demolished you earlier.
まあ聞け
Okay,
よ。
listen, Tomoyo, was it?
友よ。
なんだ
What is it?
当番
If
感
you
覚
stay
が
off the
過ぎる
pitch
な
for too long,
いいピッチャー
no
だって
matter
言わ
how
れち
good
ま
a
うんだ
pitcher
よ。
you are, you'll throw a ball that'll get hit. Tsunohara, that's really lame metaphor.
昔の
Just
枝
look at
つを見ろ。
Inatsu in the good old days, continuously pitching strikeout after
あ
strikeout.
れこそ
That
僕の
is
戦い
exactly
方
my
だね。
fighting style. Just stop it already. Even I can't follow anymore.
こいつは何を
Just
言い
what
たい
is
んだ
this guy trying to say? Tomoyo looks at me with a pained face. Sorry, I don't actually know this guy.
ありまくるだ
Like
ろ。
how you don't?
つうか
And don't look away when someone's talking to you.
こ
Your speech is too long. Just get to the point. In short, what I mean to say is I only underestimated you before. Isn't that exactly what you just said? Huh? Wait, who gives it? I can't say it as many times as I want to. Sorry, but I have seen tenacious people like you countless times before. And the end result was always the same. Just let it go. I won't think any less of you for it. Or what? Do I have to make it so you can't come to school anymore before you'll be satisfied? Even when faced with a situation like this, she can say a line like that. Tsunohara was actually the one who came to pick a fight with her, starts to become flustered. It must be because of her immense composure. However, even Tsunohara can't back down after coming this far, so he tries putting up a front of bravado as hard as he can. I wonder which one of us will be the one not to come to school anymore. That'd be you? Don't answer me! You there. The one that's with this guy, but is pretending to be an outsider. Apparently that's me. You'll back me up, right? That I was only acting in self-defense? Yeah, and in future as well, no matter how many times you need me. Alright then. In that case, I'll take you on. That's some confidence you got there. So, what would you like me to do? Shall I send you flying for a bit? That sounds like fun. That's actually one of my specialties, so leave it to me. As if that's even possible. Quit nitpicking and come at me. Alright. It takes just an instant for her to dash up to Tsunohara. He holds out his arms in defense, but in vain. She slips right through them, leaving the two face to face. Then, using the momentum accumulated from her dash, she unleashes onto him a massive flurry of kicks. Oh, he's really flying. Outsider, open the chute. Oh, I quickly run up to the garbage disposal chute that's set in the wall and open the lid. Woo! With her final kick, Tsunohara sent plunging headfirst into the open hole in the wall. Help me! Oh, just relax your shoulders. Bit by bit, he slides further in. This can't be happening! Akazaki! Save me! Schlump. His body sinks further and further into the wall. If you didn't know the situation, it would look like the lower half of someone's body is attached to the wall. It's an extremely eerie looking sight. Schlump. Only the tips of his shoes clutching to the edge of the wall are left visible. If I move your feet, you'll fall. Should I? Ah, so you want to fall. Okay, I understand. I didn't say anything. With the flick of a finger, Tomoyo removes Tsunohara's grip on the chute. Don't I get any mercy? Wait! Bye-bye. His wail of death slowly fades off into the distance. Suddenly, her body stiffens. This is bad. He might have died. Nah, it's him we're talking about. He'll be just fine. I answer with refreshingly and top it off with a thumbs up. Really? That's a relief. I base that on absolutely nothing, by the way. We laugh together as if we're in some sort of teen drama. Well, with this, I'm sure he's finally learned his lesson. I hate to disappoint you, but he's not the kind of guy who will learn his lesson just like that. That's troubling if that's the case. Please talk to him and get him to stop. It'd sure be nice if you were the type to actually listen to what I have to say. Aren't you two friends? I'm really not sure. I only hang out with him because it's fun watching him go crazy. So you mean to say that this is going to continue? Until he gets tired of it, at least. I've really gotten myself caught up in something bothersome here, haven't I? Well, if it really starts bothering you, just tell me. It bothers me plenty already. Honestly, you don't look too bothered by it to me. Perhaps worrying that she might be sweating, she tugs her turtleneck shirt and puts her nose underneath. After taking a deep breath, she adjusts her collar back to normal.
だけどな、
But even
お
so,
前たちを見ていると
watching the two of you does bring
懐
back
かしい感じも
memories.
する。そうやって
I think it's nice being able to do crazy things like that. You've been doing some awfully crazy things here too, you know. Better yet, you've done things even far more incredible in the past, if those rumors are to be believed. I wonder if she's been trying to restrain herself these days.
お前
If
に
you
意
have
志が
even the
少し
least
でも
bit
あ
of
るなら
conscience in your
あ
heart,
いつを
please
止め
make
る
him
ようにしてく
stop.
れ。
Maybe if I feel like it. Yeah,
期待しているぞ。
I'll be hoping for that. Saying that, she leaves. Okay, what's next? Maybe I should go. I hope he smells like trash. I'm standing in front of the drama club room. I'm back here again. Do I really feel that much of a sense of responsibility? I'm even ignoring my schoolwork, so why am I going to these lengths? I hear the pitter-patter of footsteps and turn around. Furukawa is heading in my direction in half-run.
岡崎さん。
Kazaki-san. I hear joy in her words as she says my name. She trots up and stands beside
び
me.
っくりしました。
I'm surprised.
誰かいる
I
と思
figured
った
I'd
ら
see someone up here, but I didn't expect
Kazaki-san
it to be you. I just said I'd help you. Geez, sorry to disappoint.
違います。
Oh no, it's not like I was hoping it'd be but someone else.
岡崎さん。
I'm glad it was you,
よかったです。
Okazaki-san.
知ってる人が
I just didn't
待って
expect
くれてる
anyone I knew to be
と
waiting
思
for
わなか
me.
ったですから。すごく
It made me
嬉し
so
くて
happy, which is why I
ついて
ran
きてしまい
over.
ました。
I see. While I may be cold and insensitive to her, I'm the one person she can talk to.
あの、
So
今から何
what
かし
should
ま
we
す
do
か？
now? Well, I open the door. The floor is carpeted with strewn cardboard boxes and equipment. I guess we could start by
で
cleaning.
すよね。
Yeah, that sounds good.
まず、
We need to
物を
start by
どかさ
getting
な
this
いとい
stuff
け
out
な
of the
い
way.
です。
Yep. We carry the stuff into different empty classroom, then get cleaning supplies from yet another empty classroom before finally getting to work. We dust the place, sweep it with a broom, then wipe it down with cloths. As the setting sun starts to beam into the room, it's finally in good enough shape to use for club activities. I guess this is good enough?
はい、
Yeah. Furukawa's eyes gleam as they survey the
で
area.
きました。
Our room, it's
私たちの
done.
部室です。
Our room? I'm not a club member, you know.
お、
What? Her expression suddenly changes, tears forming along the bottom of her now glassy eyes. How many empty classrooms does this place have? Who knows? Everything's empty. But this is one thing I have to make crystal clear. The most I'm gonna do is help you find club members. But plays are fun. I don't have any interest in them.
本当
Do
に
you really not have any? Yeah, sorry. I don't.
うん
Aw. A look of depression washes over her face. I've never done anything that would have suggested a shred of interest to begin with. Listen, Furukawa?
はい、
Yeah? I'll find people in no time. Just leave it to me.
いえ、
No, that's not the
そういう問題じゃ
problem.
なくて、岡
I
崎さんに
just
いてほしいと思っ
Wish
た
that
だ
you
け
could
で
have
す。
stayed here, Okazaki-san.
何人集
No
ま
matter
ろう
how
と
many people the club had in it. Well, I'm happy you feel that way, but... Well, I'll think about it. How's that? I leave the issue vague.
はい、
Okay,
お願いします。
please do. Yeah, my role here ends with gathering new club members. Once I do that, she'll have tons of people at school to talk to, and then she definitely won't need to cling to me any longer. That's as far as I'll meddle in her life. The two of us walk down the hill, barely any other students in sight. A small part of me doesn't want to go home. No, a big part, actually. I'm pretty hungry.
はい、
Yes, I am too. I'd sure like to get something to eat.
食べたいです。
Same here. Do you want to eat somewhere? Stop talking. I try inviting her.
外食ですか？
You want to eat out somewhere? Yeah, sounds wild and dangerous, right?
でも、
But I need to go home and
私
help
は
make
家に
dinner.
帰ってご飯作るお手伝いをしないとダメなんです。
Forget about
お
that.
母さんだ
I
けに
can't
任
ask
せ
my
て
mother
お
to
け
do
ない
it all
で
on
す
her
から。
own. She says the words and smiles. She must not mind doing it at all. Her actions are enough to show me that her home is probably a warm, loving one.
岡崎さんは
Do you not eat
家で
dinner at
ご飯
home,
食べないんですか？
Okazaki-san? There's nothing to eat even if I did go home. The silence lingers for a moment, heavy with implications. Oh, well... She tries to say something to salvage the conversation, but I tell her before she does. My old man's doing fine. My mom isn't around, though.
じゃあ
So you not eat dinner with your father? Yeah, kinda hard to, really, seeing as we're fighting all the time. I describe the situation in a way to make it easier to understand. I doubt anyone would truly get how terrible the situation is at that point. I'm the only one who does.
何かあった
Did something happen? Yeah, a lot. So much that it can't be undone. She falls silent, seemingly worried that she'd taken the conversation in an awkward direction. It's no big deal, though. That's just how single-father households are. In fact, it'd be kind of weird if two guys lived that close and were friendly with each other. I tack some comments in to attempt to smooth things over.
そうです
Is that so?
でも
But if there's somewhere... She puts her hands together in front of her
喧
chest.
嘩していて
Even if you do fight,
どこ
I
か
think
で
it would be
通じ
good
合
if
っていれ
there's
ば
at
いいん
least
です
somewhere you can
Hello, little
communicate.
hobbits.
I don't know if this is a dating sim or not. It's going pretty slow, in my opinion. Yeah, it's Clannad. I guess based off of a novel and stuff, and then they made an anime and all that stuff. I recommend the anime. I've watched it. They have Clannad, and then they have Clannad After Story. How you doing? I take a breath, filling my lungs and collecting my thoughts. It's strange. Why did I tell her so much about my family stuff?
あの
If
も
it's
し迷
not
惑
too
で
much
なければ
trouble,
ご飯ご招
I'd be
待し
happy
ます
to invite you over for dinner. Maybe it was because I was waiting to hear those words. I just wanted to get as far away from my house as possible. Are you sure that's alright?
構わないです
I don't mind. My parents would be happy to have you if they knew you were my friend. I'm certain of it.
これには自信あり
Oh yeah. It's an older anime, but yeah, I recommend it. It's very good. I guess like slice of life, some romance. I don't know, it's just nice. It has been so long, so I kind of forget bits and pieces, so as I'm playing this game, it's slowly coming back to me. I see. They really must be a happy family. While I hesitate for a moment at the thought of barging into someone else's place, I'm even more reluctant to go back to my own home. So rather than being modest, I decide to take part in their meal.
ここからまっすぐ
If you
行く
go
と
straight
公
from
園が
here,
あ
you'll
って
find a park.
その
There's a
正面
bakery
に
that
パン屋
faces
があ
it.
ります
Okay.
そのパン屋が
That
道です
bakery is my house. Got it.
それで
So
は
please head
一度
there and
待
wait
ってて
for
くだ
me.
さ
I'll
い
be leaving
す
soon
ぐ
as
私も
well.
戻りますので
Okay, see you there.
はい
Yes? She says after I grab the back of her collar. Hold on. Why are we splitting up here first? What? Is there something the matter? Well, yeah, kinda. I mean, if you're not around to introduce me to your parents, I can't just trace? Sorry, it's like, what word is that? Do y'all know that word? I don't know. Trapeze or something? I don't know. Into your place. They'll think I'm just some sketchy dude calling himself your friend.
大丈夫です
It's fine. You're wearing our school uniform. You're missing the point. Hell, it'd even be weirder if your parents let a stranger right into their house and we all started watching TV together like one big happy
だか
family.
ら自信があるんです
Like I said, I'm confident it'll all be okay. Trust me.
うちの家族
My
は
parents don't worry about things like that. It won't be weird. They'll treat you kindly, I promise.
とても自然に接してくれます
That's pretty nuts. What kind of family are they? I can't even imagine. I look up to the sky. Oh no. When I look back down, she's already far away, facing me and waving.
公園まで
You'll have no trouble finding it if you just go to the park. She calls out the words from a distance, then leaves. I'm left all alone. She really is ignorant about how society works, isn't she? I'm now keenly aware of this fact. I guess I'll buy a boxed lunch again and head to Sunohara's room. I turn around and head back as I mutter under my breath. But then my legs stop. What would she do if I disappeared right now? She'd probably go look for me. I've gotten myself into a rather sticky situation here, haven't I? I feel irritated all of a sudden. Irritated at myself for getting into this mess in the first place. Nothing would have happened if I'd done nothing. Ugh, dang. I shake my head to snap out of it. Yeah, I just have to do what she told me. I need to be as natural as possible. If I am, then everything will go off without a hitch. And if that's the case, I won't have to regret today. And all that happened is I'll eat dinner at her house, then head home. Nothing more, nothing less. That's what I'll do. I pivot on my heel and start walking once more, further thinking about how to turn this unnatural predicament into a natural one. So this is the place, huh? I see a bakery immediately across the street from the park. The billboard says Furukawa Bread. What a plain-looking store. Its glass door is half closed, but a brilliant light pours out from it like a knocked-over soda without a cap. They seem to be still open. Even so, it feels hard to walk in. Do any customers other than regulars come here? If I was someone looking to buy bread, I'd probably look elsewhere, even if it meant going farther down the road. But today, I'm here because Furukawa invited me. My only option is to go in. I step through the door and enter inside. Food. No one's here. Heyo! I try saying something, but don't get anything in reply. So they've just left it unattended? In that case, someone could help themselves to as much food as they wanted. I look at the different kinds of bread lined up on the shelves. There's a lot left. What are they gonna do with all this? Though it's already quite late, the trays are covered in bread. They look like they taste
Does
good.
that bread look good?
Stop it, Kaiju! What about it? What about the bread? What about it? You know, I think I'd help myself to a sample. I take one off a tray, but as I bring it to my mouth, I notice something off. My hand stops. There's something in this.
こんばんは。
Good evening. Suddenly, I hear a voice come from behind. I turn around in shock, only find a woman standing right in front of me. Oh yeah, I remember her mom. Okay. Judging by the apron she's wearing, she probably works here. She could be Furukawa's mom? She seemed pretty young to be, if that's the case. Or is it her sister? I was pretty sure it was her mom.
それ、今週の新商品なんです。食べてみて
That's
くだ
this
さい。
week's new product. Try it out, please. How much is it?
結構ですよ。
You don't need to pay anything. I'll just go to waste otherwise. Ugh. Lucky for me.
それ、
The concept behind that piece is calm. Huh? So I'll feel calm if I eat this?
はい。
Yes, I think you'll
とっても
feel
なる
quite
こと思い
calm.
ますよ。
Does it look good and taste bad? I forget. I don't really understand, but I try eating it anyway. Crack. Crumble.
おせんべいが入ってるんです
It's full of rice crackers. Isn't it amazing? I think it's a winning idea. No! It's defeated me, at the very least.
名付けて
It's called
おせんべい
Rice
パンね
Cracker Bread. Exactly as advertised, I see.
お子様から
I think that everyone from children to the elderly will love eating
そうですよ
these.
ね
I'd expect a broad outpouring of disgust for them, to be frank. I think my lull is making her anxious.
ダメでし
Do
ょ
you not like it? She asked me with fear in her voice. Yeah, I'm gonna give this to you straight. No one would ever buy this. What could be the problem? Is it the name?
でしょうかネーミングに
I'm not very confident about the name, you know.
どうしましょ
Oh,
う
what should I change it to?
ボリボリ言うから
It's all crumbly, so maybe just crumbly bread?
パキパキパン
Or
の方
would
がいいですか
crackly bread be better? May I?
はい
Please, go ahead. I think the problem is more fundamental than that.
はい
Oh? Where you went wrong was having the idea of putting rice crackers in bread in the first place.
でも
But isn't it
美味しいです
tasty?
よね
I'm saying this because it isn't. You made her cry! Why? But it's true. Tears begin to well up in her eyes. Then... Dash. She turns around and runs away. Hey, What's wrong with you? Are you a child or something? The store is empty once again. I just stand there dumbfounded and alone. Guess the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. I can't help but think of the saying. What kind of family environment is this exactly anyway? I gradually start to feel more and more uneasy. I hope that her dad is normal at least. Hey you, what are you gonna do about this? I hear a menacing voice call out from behind me. I turn to face it. This time, I see a man with a threatening expression staring at me. Don't tell me. Is this her dad? He's young, just like her mom. He seems like a teenage delinquent that aged but never managed to grow up. What you need to do is just eat it and tell her it's delicious. It's called being decent. It's called having manners. That's not something I do for someone I'm meeting for the first time. The truth is always harsh, you see. How cold-hearted could you be to just come right out and give her the truth? Just imagine if your parents suddenly told you one day that they actually picked you up as a baby from under a bridge. You'd feel a little blue, wouldn't you? That's why you should tell her that the bread tastes good. No! Well, what do you have to say? I'm not gonna let you act like this isn't your problem just because you're a customer. Everyone around here eats her bread and tells her it's delightful, like if clouds and rainbows had flavors, they taste like her bread. Poor thing. It's an unspoken rule, a code, a law. This is absurd. Don't break it. Because if you do, I'm gonna stop a mud hole in ya, then walk it dry. What kind of ridiculous home have I walked into? That's a lot of leftover bread again. The man grumbles as he walks around the store. He starts grabbing bread off the trays and stuffing them into plastic bags in front of me. What the? We've only sold one of Sane's cracker breads? The whole... Oh, you didn't even sell one! Because she gave it to me for free! Ah! And it's in my hands. These guys are going to Sogai-san's house then. So he goes around sharing the leftovers with neighbors? Yuck. No one likes that guy. Ah, this one hasn't sold it all either? Now would be a good time to run. I quietly do an about-face and attempt to exit the store. Hey, you. I recognize that uniform. Don't you go to the same school as my kid? He noticed. Hey, I said hold on. That's right, I do. So what? Are you Nagisa's friend? Yeah, you got a problem with that? You should have said that earlier. Hey, Sanai, we're going all out tonight. He approaches me and grabs both of my shoulders. I'm going home. He then starts dragging me with an uncanny amount of force. Wow. There's no way I can resist. The table is absolutely covered with rows of leftover bread. I'm sorry, I didn't know you were Nagisa's friend. I feel embarrassed now. If I'd known, I wouldn't have acted like that in front of you. How would you have acted? I guess that's a frequent sight to her customers. Don't worry about it. He's a little bit of a weirdo. You shouldn't say things like that to a customer. You can say that again. In any case, this is something to celebrate. I can't believe Nagisa was able to bring a friend to the house this fast. Not only that, but a boy, Akio-san. What? A man? We just realized that now? What? Did he just notice? Maybe he's even her boyfriend. Stop! Like, I'd hand Nagisa over to a wuss like him. Get lost. Scram. Okay, I'll leave. Hey, and you call yourself a man? A real man would take her from me, even if it's by way of vicious duel or we both brandish broken bottles of switchblades. Oh, and switchblades. But even if you tried, I still wouldn't hand her over. Which is it? Because you basically just contradicted yourself there. Now, just eat up, okay? Furukawa's mom grins as she recommends different kinds of bread to me. Oh gosh. This one is popular. I think it's really delicious. Furukawa's dad practically burns holes right through me with his menacing stare, his eyes filled with rage and malice all the while. An unspoken rule. A code. A law. What an awful home. I'm home.
No?
How did I make it before her? Whatever, man. Hey, Simp, how you doing? We're just playing some Clannad. But yeah, based on a novel, made into an anime, but this be the game. And I'd be going through it. I think after this scenario, though, I might call it, because I've already been at it for almost 2.5 hours. And my voice, like, my throat's starting to feel tight. But I'm glad you can still make it in. I think Sheep might be streaming, so if anything, we'll probably raid him. Ah! The princess has returned. It seems like Furukawa is finally back. I'm saved. I'm saved, I think. Oh, thank you for the hydrate. Hopefully it helps. But yeah, my throat feels tight. It helped a bit. Thank you, Floof. See, you're already getting along. That's right, my daughter. Just leave it to me. We wouldn't let your friends sit around and get bored. All three thrust their fists out toward one another. I just stare at the scene like an idiot. Why are you looking all stupid like that? Oh, I just thought it'd be best if I didn't get involved in anything having to do with this family. That's all, no big deal. Look at that. We're already such good friends that he's cracking snide jokes. That's wonderful. Furukawa seems to be happy from the bottom of her heart. I wonder, what's with this family? Are we having bread for dinner tonight? No, tonight's a celebration. We'll just have him take the bread home. Well, I bought ingredients for dinner, so I'll help cook. You two wait and be nice to each other. Furukawa's mom follows after her. Now I'm all alone with her dad. I'm barely on episode 3. How many episodes are there? Sheep is in fact streaming. Yes! I'm definitely gonna bother him. Kaiju a bully? Always. Always. He's picking on me. And he's suggesting that we do a counter for every time I say that food is delicious and that I want it. Ah! I'm all alone with her dad. You'll be eating something decent for dinner, don't worry. Yeah, that's right. Stop picking on me, Kaiju. I thought you loved me. Looks like I missed my chance to get away. They were selling good meat at the store, so we made pork cutlet. It might not look very well made, but it tastes good. Put a bunch of shredded cabbage on your plate like this, then put the sauce on everything. Oh gosh. So this is what Furukawa normally looks like. She's speaking a lot too. It's funny how different she is when she's around her family, even this family. I must not be drawing out even half of the cheerfulness she normally has inside her. Why are you yelling at me? Stop it, Poofy! You and Kaiju. Hush. You want to fight? No, no fighting. Don't fight. Catch me outside. He's already outside. He works at a little, like, building post thing, and he goes outside doing the truck stuffs. Oh, gosh. No, 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 you twos. You behave. Oh, gosh. I must not be drawing out even half the cheerfulness she normally has inside of her. I feel irritated. Irritated at myself for losing to this family. Then again, we've only just met. I guess our relationship is just getting started. Wait, why am I starting to feel this competitive? This is tasty. Really? I'm so glad to hear that. Isn't that right,
若造もそう
kiddo?
思うだろう。
そういえば
You know, I never
お名前
learned your
聞いて
name.
なかったですね。岡崎さんです。
He's Okazaki-san, Tomoyo Okazaki-san.
耳
What a
ちいか
lame
おい
name. What do you want me to do about it? It was my parents' fault. Like I had a choice.
岡崎
You should
銀
change
河
it
と
to
にすべ
Okazaki
スケールでかいだ
Galaxy.
ろ
Now that's a name with scale, eh? Yeah, I'll just change it to Steven
銀河
Universe.
ってお呼びしていいですか？
What a wonderful name. May I call you Galaxy-san? Of course not. My name's Tomoya.
そうしたらあれだ
Oh, I know then. Make your family name Universe. Universe Galaxy. Now
こ
that's
れはまたで
epic.
けえだろ
Let me drive a van to your heart.
いいですね。
I'm waiting.
大
Hide
宇
you,
宙さん
stop
と
it.
呼んでいいですか？
Oh, that sounds good. May I call you Universe-san? My name's Okazaki.
いちい
You
ち
sure
ケチつ
do
け
like
る
to
やつだな
nitpick.
そ
Then
れ
do you have any
いい案
ideas?
ないのか
What about Cosmic Tomoya? Ah, that's
それ
great.
最高だ
コズミック
May I call you
と呼んでもいい
Cosmic-san
で
then?
すか？
I just told you, it's Okazaki.
なあコズミック渚の学校での
You're
生
the
活ぶりは
one
ど
who
うだ
called him out outside. And he's waiting and you just said to stop it. You guys are silly. Hey Cosmic, what's life like at Nagisa's school? It's Okazaki. Furukawa's been laughing the entire time. I guess she realizes this is one long joke. She seems so honestly happy.
ねコスモ
Hey, Cosmo. How many name changes are we up to at this point? I watch closely as the family interacts with each other.
こんなに遅
It's
くな
gotten
っちゃい
pretty
ました
late.
け
Is
ど
that alright?
岡崎さん？
Okazaki-san? Sorry, it just seems strange to me. What did?
何がです？
That there were families like this. You're all so close.
そうですか？
Really? This seems to feel absolutely normal to her. After being with them for a while, I feel uncomfortable. At the same time, I also feel a sense of frustration. Frustrated embarrassment, my bad. Why is that? I was suddenly tossed into a situation where I stood out, then I was treated like a child. What exactly was I feeling? The time I just spent with Furukawa's family, the mood in there was so foreign to me. It seemed like something that take place on a different planet. My spirits noticeably dampened. I just want to go home and sleep on this for the night, but unfortunately, the living room. My father is sitting in a corner, his back hunched over. As I see him, I'm overcome with anger. Hey, old man, if you're gonna sleep, you should at least lie down. With nowhere to channel my emotions, I simply suppress them and calmly say the words. No answer. Either he's sleeping or he just doesn't feel like listening. I can't really tell the difference these days. Hey, Dad. I try calling him something else. He slowly raises his head and squints his eyes open. He peers up at me. I wonder how I look in his eyes. Does he really see my face as the face of his own son?
これは
Oh, now look at that.
また智也
I
君
hope I
に
didn't
迷惑を
cause you
かけ
any
てしまった
trouble again, Tomoya-kun. The scene before me turns red for a moment. But after that, I leave as I always do. Behind me, I hear an imploring voice repeating my name, with a kun attached to it. What did I come all the way here for? What I planned to do once I got here? A feeling of nostalgia hits me like a truck. Nostalgia for a kindness I knew long, long ago. I don't think I've ever known something like that, and yet despite how distant that memory is, it still feels so familiar, like it happened only yesterday. But just a little earlier, I've been watching on as something like that took place again right in front of me. When they treated me like a child, I returned to being a child. But all I did was feel annoyed by that.
もしよろしければ。
If you'd like, I hear a voice right behind me. I turn back to look in its direction and see a girl. She looks like an illusion, purity
あ
itself.
なたを
I can... The words flow from her
あな
mouth.
たをお連れしましょ
I
う
can
か。
take you. She slowly closes her
こ
eyes
の街の
to the place where
願い
wishes
が
are
叶う場
granted.
所に。
This is her declaration to me. This small messenger from another world. We stand there in the freezing atmosphere. in the place closest to the entrance to that world. Ah. I force myself to make a sound. My body feels as though it's been paralyzed. Yeah. My voice trembles as it answers. The girl opens her eyes, and then... What are you doing here? Her face returns to normal, to the one of simple purity that I know. Nothing really. That's strange, you just went home. Well, is there something you need to do at my house? No, not really. I've calmed back down. It was just a little too early to go home. But it's already so late. I'm very lost, I don't even know what's going on. Let's see, to try to recap. So, he's a delinquent, she's a delinquent, but for different reasons. So he is always late to school, this and that, but he had family problems. Pretty much, his mom died, his dad got into a severe depression and is alcoholic and all that stuff. But yeah. So he tries to avoid home whenever he can because the relationship between him and his dad and fighting and stuff. Her, on the other hand, her body's very frail. She gets sick easy, and one time she got sick for like 9 months straight. So she's a third year. She wasn't able to graduate. All of her friends left and graduated, you know, without her. So now she's back here, and it feels like it's all foreign to her, so she's kind of a delinquent too, or whatever. But now he's trying to help her to fit in again. They met and blah, 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 blah. I guess they're trying to reopen the drama club because it was shut down. But she wants to do that, and then they're going to be looking for, like, members and stuff, and more friends for them, and whatever. Trying to do a recap. I could have sworn you said hi. Aw? Oh. You're sick right now? Oh, maybe he didn't say hi to you, because he said hi to me and maybe to Kaiju. Hooray! Decent explanation, because I usually suck at explaining. Oh, that's right. You're a delinquent, Akazaki-san. Yep, that's me. It's probably hard being that way, huh? Nah, you don't need to worry about me, though. I do this because I want to, remember? It seems like it'd get boring. What about you, Furukawa? Are you out shopping again? No. She immediately replies in the negative. I'm practicing for a play. I see, that makes sense. I always practice at night in the park. This late at night? Isn't that, you know, dangerous? I was practicing a little later than normal today. I usually practice earlier, but I'm alright. I was actually on my way back here when I saw you. I was reciting some of my lines for you. That's what I was saying before. I see. I would be happy if you can give me some feedback. Well, if that was all a performance, then it's definitely worthy of praise. But I can't find the words to praise her with. Hurry up and go home. I think I'm going to take tomorrow off from school. It's a joke, stupid. Don't act so devastated. Okazaki-san, your jokes are cruel. I was actually starting to cry. She starts wiping the edges of her eyes with her finger. She's like a small child. Oh no, Simp. I hope you feel better. Like, what's happening? Kaiju. Don't pick a fight on someone who's sick, Kaiju. Stop it. Like, what symptoms do you have, if you don't mind me asking? And wait for a doctor to say, oh, I don't specialize it. Isn't a general practitioner supposed to have a general idea and then be able to, like, at least lead you into the right direction or at least give you a referral for said specialist? I don't know, man. But for them to be like, oh, I don't specialize in that. Get out of here. Kaiju, stop. Akazaki-san, are you still not going to go home after this? Nope, gonna stay out a while longer. You'll be late again for school tomorrow. Yeah, maybe. But that's fine. I'm a delinquent after all.
それ
I
は
wonder if that's really
本
true.
当にそうなんですか？今も信
I
じ
still
ら
have
れ
a
ない
hard
です。
time believing you.
岡崎さん、
You don't seem
全然不
very
良の人っ
like a
ぽくないです。
delinquent at all, Akazaki-san. That's just how some of us
お
delinquents
父
are.
さんと
You
喧
said that
嘩
you
して
got
る
in
って
fights with your
そう言い
father?
ました。
Yeah, I did.
それと
Does it have
関
something to
係
do
ない
with
ですか？
that?
お父さんと
You'll get in
顔
a
を合
fight
わ
with
せ
your
ると
father
喧
if you
嘩にな
see
る
each
から。
other, so you walk
お
around
父
outside
さん
until
が
he
静
falls
まるまで
asleep?
外をそれで遅
That
刻
makes you
多
late
く
to
なって
school all the time, which causes
だから
everyone to
不
whisper
良っ
that
て
you're a
噂されるよ
delinquent.
うになって違います
Am I
か？
wrong? What a sharp girl. Either that or I said so much about my personal life that it was easy to guess all that. You're wrong. I don't confirm it to her. I want to look cool, calm, collected.
本当に違います
Are you
か？
sure I'm wrong? We barely know each other. I'm shocked you're able to come up with all of that.
できます。
I can because of you,
そうさせる
Akazaki-san.
きっと
I thought there must have been
何か理由があるんだ。
some sort of reason for why you do the things you do.
そう思いま
That's
し
just
た。
the feeling I had, I guess. Even if that was the case, what were you gonna do about it? I try asking her.
岡崎さん
You're the
は
one who gave me courage,
私を勇気づ
Akazaki-san.
けてくれた人ですから。だから私
So I
は
want to help you in
力
return.
になりたいです。勇気をあげ
I
た
want
い
to
で
give
す。
you courage. The courage to face off against my old man?
それはダメ
No, you
です。
shouldn't confront him. You need to understand each other. How?
それは
That
とても時間
that's
のかか
something
る
that
ことで
takes
す。
a lot of time. Yeah, I bet it does. We're just kids. I look far off into the distance above the roofs of the houses in town. The night clouds shine dimly from the light of the moon.
もしよけれ
If
ば
you'd like, you can come
私
into
の
my
家に来ま
house.
すか？
Furukawa's voice breaks my trance. It must be the proposal she came up with after struggling to think of something in the last few
少
moments.
し距
I
離を
think
置
it
い
would
て
be good if you
お
put
互い
some
のこと
distance
考え
between
ると
you
い
and
い
your
と思いま
father
す。
and gave each other time to think.
二人は
You
家
two are
族です。
family, so I'm sure you'll start to
だ
miss
から
each other once
距
you're
離を置け
apart.
ば絶対に寂しくなるはずです。そうすれば
Doing that will
相手
make
を
you
好きだっ
remember
た
that
こと
you
を思
really
い出
do
して
love each other.
次会っ
And
た
then
時
maybe
に
you'll be
は
able to sit
ゆ
down
っ
and
くり
talk
と
to
話し合う
them
こと
next
が
time
で
you
きる。
meet.
それに
Also, this way
ちゃ
you'll
ん
at
と
least
夜
be
にな
able
っ
to
たら
go to
寝ら
sleep
れ
at
て
decent hours so
学
you
校
won't
も
be
遅
late
刻
for
しないで済
school.
みます。一石二鳥です。
Two birds with one stone. She must have had to make an effort to say all
どう
that.
でしょうか？
What do you
岡
think,
崎さん、
Akazaki-san?
岡崎さん
Would you
は
like to do that? Fine. Yeah, I guess so. It'd be nice if I could.
はい、
Okay,
そう
then
しましょ
let's. You idiot. You trust people too easily. I turn my
う。
back to
岡
her.
崎さんは
You're the one who
こんな
decided to
私
speak
に
to me
声
of
を
all
かけてく
people,
れた人ですから。
Akazaki-san. Her voice is
一
tense.
緒に
You're the one who
演
said
劇
you'd
部
help me
の
find
つもり
drama club
まず
members.
それだけで
That alone is enough to make you a
私には
good
十分
person in
いい
my
人です。
eyes. I start to walk off. I don't hear any other words from her. I visit Sunahara's room again that night. Hey, Sunahara, you alive? Sunahara is sleeping with his head rested on his katatsu. Looks like you're alive. Aren't you dust chutes supposed to be made so people can fall in? He raises his head right as I sit down. Were your joints dislocated or something?
そんなんで
As
入
if
るの
that'd
か
be enough to make me fall in. Anyway, Akazaki. He brings his face close to mine. What?
あいつは
That
マ
girl
ジ
is
強いぞ
seriously strong. Yeah, I actually noticed that a while ago. Oh, well, I guess this means that the legendary girl really does exist.
しねえ
She
よ
does not! You still don't believe it?
男より
It's just
女が強い
impossible
なんて
for a
あり
woman
え
to be
ません
stronger than a man. You've just made yourself an enemy of every woman in this country. I mean, you saw how she looked, right? Well, I do agree as far as that Tomoyo girl is concerned, right? It's just absurd how strong she
もし
is.
かしてさ
Could it be?
あ
What?
いつ
Could it be she's actually a guy? I'm really starting to worry about your life
ど
now.
うして
Why? How about you try saving the same... How about you try saying the same thing to her face? Yeah, I thought so. He must be visualizing the scene in his head. He's probably being thrown through the air right about now.
う
He's probably being cremated right about
わ
now.
やめておこう
I think I'll pass. You don't want to end up in an
そ
urn?
こまで想
As
像
if I'd
するな
imagine things that far ahead.
慌てて顔を
I
見
only
た
got
ら
up
飛
to
び
the
出すところま
part
で
where
だ
I jump out of the casket in a panic. That means you came back to life. That's not in character, you know? What? Really? Just be a good boy and burn.
そんなことはどうだ
Why
って
does
いい
any of that matter?
とにかく
At any rate, I'm gonna go check. Going to check whether resurrection is possible after being turned to ashes? Why would I test something that's scary with my own body? I mean, whether she's a man or not. She's meaning... She meaning Tomoyo? Yeah. How? There's plenty of ways, and I'm gonna check until I know for sure. Oh, this is disturbing. At this point in time, Tsunohara had yet to realize that he had started down the path of the pervert. I could totally hear that, you know. Just pretend you didn't then. It'll be far more fun that way. As if I do something that seemed perverted. I'll play it smooth. I'll be sure to stay safe. I want to hear your findings. Don't look down on me. I don't think that's something you can do after being completely demolished in a fight today. Anyway, I'll give up on trying to discourage him for now. I face Tsunohara and give him a thumbs up. Good luck! I'll be praying for your pervertedness. What? I say this in the most upbeat way possible. Yeah! Tsunohara takes it as a wish for good luck and gives me an equally refreshing response. Tell me this is the end of the day. Yes! I'm done! Oh. So what's going on? Let me see. Catching up with chat. Ah, where's my mouse? I hope it's nothing serious, though, for real. Sorry, I was just catching up with chat. Yeah, I'm familiar with gallbladder pain and things like that. It could sometimes, like a gallbladder attack, mimic, like a heart attack pains and stuff, which I've had, which is glorious. But also you would probably have pain in your upper right abdomen kind of area, upper right mid abdomen, if it was gallbladder pain. Gosh, I don't know. It's very hard to say, but for sure I hope that they figure out what it is and that hopefully that it isn't serious, that it's something that you just have to do a lifestyle change and hopefully get better. But I'm sorry. Wow, 2 weeks? That's terrible. I'm sorry, Simp. I really do hope you feel better. Yeah, I hope it's not either. Hold on, let's see. We are going to raid Mr. Sheepman. Because I am done, because my voice is spent. So I thank you all for joining me. I don't know, maybe I'll continue tomorrow if I'm up for it, if my voice is okay. So yeah, but thank you, and have a great night. I don't have a raid message, you can make up whatever. And yeah, it's time to party with Sheep, our little sheep man. Whoop whoop! Raise the roof, raise the hooves. Alright, so I'm gonna start down, doing the countdown. Bum ba dum bum bum! Hooray! Ready to raid. See you on the other side. 'Cause I got friends on the other side. Good night!
Oh shit! Oh, oops, oh dang! Hello, Fen! Greetings, hello! Here, let me go ahead and... Actually, you know what? We got some mods. You know, we got some new mods. How about one of you guys, y'all wanna do a favor for me? Can you guys do exclamation point SO space and then Fen size? or just a shout out. That should be what the shout out is. I'm sure you guys know what the shout out command is. But hello, hey Kaiju, hey Fen, hey Simp. How is stream? How is Clannad? Hello, Floofy. Strange looking sculpture. Why is my game not working now? It's because I'm not playing it. Duh. There we go. Its shape seems to remind you of something. Yeah, but how was Clannad? It was weird when I got the notification for when you were playing that game, because I saw what game you were playing, and I'm like, Clannad. That sounds like a show. That sounds like an anime, I think. Then I looked at it, and I was like, yeah, this is probably an anime. But I'll be honest, I know nothing about it. It looked like what I think anime would look like if I didn't know what anime was. I don't know if that makes sense. Like it wasn't like a mech anime, or it wasn't like demons or something, you know what I mean? It just looked like a high school anime. Said community night tomorrow? Yeah, it was community night Wednesday. Is this her? Hey, what up? Hey there, partner. Name's Sky. Sky the bunny. I'm guessing number 8 brought you here, right? That's a weird name. But yeah, hello Raiders. I've never done an intro before, and I won't start. I'm a sheep. I play games. I've realized that I've never done an introduction to people, I think. But hello. Sheepman, if you trust nothing from me, trust this. You will lose your soul after watching it. I don't want to lose my soul. I probably won't watch it then. It's great. It makes me so happy to see little hands like you hanging out around here. I mean, some of y'all don't even go outside. Yeah, that's you guys. Hey, raise your hands in chat if you're, I don't know, say, if you watched Clannad or played the video game Clannad, you don't go outside. Always watching TV and doing nothing? Yeah, that's you guys. That's chat. Anyway, I think I'm getting a bit sidetracked. Now that you're here and all, I'm gonna be honest with you. Looking after this place by myself and my handy pals has been a pain in the butt. Everyone except for Fen. Fen gets an exception. And Kaiju too. But Kaiju only slightly. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're all really helpful. But sometimes they get pretty lazy. So I was thinking, how about you help me out here too? Maybe you and I can make this little garden something special. It'll be fun, I promise. So what do you say? Are you up for the job, partner? No. Please?